Hey everyone, Sawmill Charlie. Well, it's another Friday. Hey Darren and all. So let me get the link up so everybody can come on in. Hey Stuffy, Tar Heel, Randy. Hey, let's see. All right, let's see. Invite. All right, there it is. It's up. So hopefully everybody's had a great week. And maybe in your area you had weather good enough to get into your hives and check them. I know last Friday, um, it was 70 degrees, was able to get into my hives, check them. Plenty of food stores, a lot of good bees. Had one dink of a hive, but other than that, which was kind of already known, they had been going into the winter with just 5 frames and didn't work out very well. Saturday, I went back into them a little bit, got into that small little hive and found out that they really had a lot of dwindling in there in that nuke, and went into a couple of my 10 framers, which I didn't do that on Saturday. And they are real good population, good food, lots of food in there. And so they're looking good. Just uploaded a video here showing my inspection of last week. As far as this week's weather goes, it's been pretty cold. Hey Tom, Phil, and Keith, and all that. So hey Richard, and it's they're looking good. I would like to get into the 10 framers a little bit more. Hopefully Sunday, it should be somewhere around 45 degrees, which I like it to be 47. Hopefully I can get in there and hit them with a little bit of oxalic acid vapor for the month of January, or actually February. I mean, January, I wasn't able to get in there due to the weather, snow and all that kind of stuff, and too cold. And here's Tom coming in. Hey, Tom, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, Charlie, how you doing?
Pretty good. I was watching your videos there where you had, what was it, 3 hives kind of felt blew over
Yeah,
and all.
and spent 6 days sub-freezing weather.
Mm. Hey, Tarun. Hey, Larry. Um, so I didn't get to watch everything. Did he make it? Most of them make it, or what did you?
All three made it.
All 3 of them made it. That's good.
Yeah,
Now, they
I
you
peeked
didn't
under
have
the
them
hood
strapped
today.
down? You didn't have them strapped down?
No, I don't. I've never had problems with wind strap having my.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know what happened. Actually, the whole board actually it's sitting on a pole fell off the hive,
Hmm.
which is
You mean
kind
the
of
hive stand itself?
yeah, the hive stand itself.
Well, it sounds like to me you had a hive stand rotten problem. Hey, Clay.
Well,
Hey,
it's
Shane.
metal, concrete and metal.
Russell. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know how that happened.
Uh, Dudette. And I just reading the comments and J&D Bees. Hey, Joey.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was wondering about that. My problem over the years have been I have a lot of wind, and I have to. If I don't, I had bricks on mine, and I still had where the tops would blow off and stuff like that,
Yeah. On
and
mine, yeah.
all that kind of crazy stuff.
I
And
had mine on the
yeah,
back of woods.
so I've gotten to the point anymore. Everything gets strapped and gets strapped all the time. Now, summertime,
Yeah.
might be a little bit laxed about it and not put the straps back on, but pretty much all the time I do. I like to,
Well,
do the
we've
strap.
had 80-mile-per-hour winds and they haven't been blown over.
Really,
So,
I mean, I've had
yeah,
my limbs
something
blow
not.
off. I've had good storms, like summer storms, and they'll blow those telly covers, 20 feet out in the grass,
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
I think a bobcat got tried to get into the hives
You have
and
one of them
knocked
out
my
there, do
whole
you?
pole off the concrete. You know,
Really?
concrete has that little lip, cement blocks.
Hmm.
I have a pole sitting on that, and somehow the pole got lifted off the edge and down on the ground.
So you actually have bobcats out there. I didn't think that you had
Yeah,
that.
I have bobcats in the neighborhood. So I
Really?
think a bobcat was got up on it or something and pushed that pole off. I mean,
Hmm.
it takes a lot of force to move that pole, so I was like a little surprised. So I actually had to put the stand back together and then put the
Hmm.
high backs back on there. The good
Hmm.
thing is I got to clean the bottom boards out and stuff like that.
Right. No, I didn't know that you guys would have bobcats, out in that area there. They don't have nothing like that in my area that I know of. And
Yeah, it's really woody where I live, a lot of woods where I live. And there's two forests that's within 5 miles of me, and there's another forest within 7 miles, 10 miles of me.
hmm.
The Great Miami Forest, the Houston Woods Forest, and Shawnee Lookout Forest.
Yeah, let's see, where did I just see somebody asked you a question? Yeah, Doug up in, do you have raccoons? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I have raccoons too.
Yeah, or a raccoon. I
I
guess
have
that's
minks, bobcats, raccoons, turkeys, deer. We even had a bear come through about 10 years ago.
really. Now I know that
Yeah, right.
Doug's up there in Canada where they got plenty of bears and stuff like that, and all that. But they were talking about another type of animal, and I forget what it was called now. Forget what it was. Um, I've never heard of it. It's kind of like a wolverine type of animal.
Badger.
No, it wasn't a badger. It was something else. Some kind of looked like a big groundhog to me, but it would it'll capture a cat or whatever type of thing. Well,
One
we
of
got
these.
60 folks on here already, and we've only been at it for 9 minutes. That's great.
Yeah,
And
it's good.
Hey Norman,
Yeah, I'm way behind in saying hi to people.
yeah.
Well,
There's DNNA Prairies, Dan, and
Longman,
um,
Longman,
and there's Mitchell
DJ Mac.
from up in
I don't
New
know.
Hampshire, and of course Doug from up in let's see, what is it, Saskatchewan, Canada, I think, and oh, a Fisher. That's right, Doug. You ever heard of a Fisher, Tom?
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
never seen one of them around here, but wouldn't surprise me.
yeah. There's um, Lynn from up in Baltimore. Here's
Hey, Ed.
Hey
there's
guys.
Ed. Hey, and I know Lynn. I'll see you tomorrow afternoon up at the brewery there where we're going to have our club meeting. Big truck saloon or whatever it's called, brewery, I think it is. Yeah, microbrewery and all
I
that.
peeked underneath the hood of those three hives today, Charlie. I didn't film anything because I just peeked real quick, and they were all alive. So
That's
I didn't
good.
want to disturb them anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Mine, I got good population in all the hives that I checked, except for that one little dink, and the nukes are in good form.
That's good.
Yeah, the Big Truck Farm Brewery. If anybody's in the area of, it's up around New Park, Maryland. If you're close by, it's not too far from the Pennsylvania line. Come on, join us. We'll start at I think it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and just kind of get together and talk bees and stuff like that. Now, I was on the other chat, and I just got off of there and came, started mine. And what about anybody here going to be feeding pollen patties? And when would you start? I know for me in Maryland, our maple bloom kind of hits around mid-March, and which is about let's say 6 weeks away. And I'm pretty sure all the queens are starting to lay, and and that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking, should we be throwing the pollen patties on right now? And as long as you're, wanting bees to boost up and be good and strong come springtime. That's my question out to everybody. I mean, I know that the folks up in Canada are not even thinking about anything like that.
Right.
They're worried more so to keep the bee barn at 4C,
Cool
which is
temperature.
39.2 or something like that. Yeah, 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit. I know Ian's having a problem with that and all
I
that.
put
So
I
go ahead.
put pollen patties on all my hives last week, all but two.
Okay.
Just because our maple trees start blooming at the end of February this month or
Really?
the first day of March.
Really?
Yeah,
I
usually the 28th or the 1st or the 29th this year to the
yeah.
1st or 2nd of March. Every year they bloom. So I think this year it might even be a week earlier.
Now, Larimore
I've
Farm,
actually gone.
Larimore is in South Carolina, and he says the pollen's rolling in. So yeah, you're wasting your money about putting any
Yeah.
pollen on there. And Brian C says his pollen is coming in, and
Yeah, I've been getting pollen for a little while too, but um, I've been putting pieces of pollen patty in the hives
yeah,
for like about 3 weeks. But my maple has bloomed already. I've actually even made a split already. Did a Terranol split on a hive, so
We're
things
way
are
ahead
moving
of
pretty
us.
quick.
yeah. Well, you're down in what is it, Alabama?
Yeah, I'm in Dothan, Alabama.
Yeah, you're in that area where it's good and hot. And Michael, he's still got snow and all that stuff. And let's see, Phil, you're up there in Michigan. You're probably going to be behind us. And then Larimore Farm say yellow jasmine is budding up. I'm not real familiar with that.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
winter
I don't have any
jasmine's
of that
bloomed
either.
in my yard too. It's yellow.
What is jasmine anyway? Just a flower or what?
Yeah, it doesn't look like privet, but the plant itself looks like a privet, but it's like a small um, golden cup. flower that comes out. And yeah, I know people say that jasmine is bad for the bees, but I don't think winter jasmine really is. It's like it's evergreen shrub. It stays green all year round. But right here at the end of winter, in our areas where it finally decides it wants to
Yeah.
bloom.
And Jason says he's right here next to mine where I'm at. He does it on Valentine's Day, which is February the 14th, which is only in a week away, which is about right. I think I'm going to get out there and throw some patties in earlier this year. Problem I always had, I kind of waited till March, and it was just way too late.
Right. I just
And,
watched some lady from Pennsylvania, I think,
yeah.
university. She said 5 to 6 weeks before your first flowers. If
Yeah.
you want to do splits, if you want to have the biggest hives for
My main
honey.
thing is I want to have, I got rocket fuel in there from feeding them in the fall. Last year, I mean, I had bees galore come
Right.
springtime, and that was late March when I set them up for honey production. And I want to try to, recreate that same thing. And of course, I went and I bought, I guess, 20 pounds of global patties with rocket fuel in there.
That's what I did.
So I actually have used it on my nukes late summer when there wasn't any bloom. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll throw a patty in on my 10 frame honey production hives. The two that I did check are got very good population and stuff like that. And then let's see. Lynn says winter jasmine evergreen shrub, but it blooms. It looks like forsythias
Yeah,
or
I read that.
forsythias or whatever you pronounce it.
That's it. You got it right. For Cynthia. It's a yellow flower.
Well, and then Brian talks about it that January jasmine is or winter flowering honeysuckle. Here's Morgan.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Morgan?
Morgan.
Oh, not too bad. Yourself?
All right.
Finally got some sunshine the last couple of days, and I thought it was never going to quit raining.
Yeah, I don't. What's your last name, Morgan?
Smith, easy.
I saw in the news the other day that we had 21 days of cloudy, rainy weather
Yep.
in southwest Ohio.
Yeah, sun come out yesterday. I wasn't sure exactly what it was at first.
Yeah. We had sun yesterday and today. In fact, Charlie, we're supposed to have 50 to mid 50s, so 60-degree weather the next 2 weeks.
Really?
I think the silver maple trees will be blooming within the next 2 weeks.
Well, I was on this other chat it was another club that I belonged to, and they were talking about growing degree days, which I've tried to look into that. And
Yeah.
the guy was saying that he says as long as it's 100 growing degrees or higher, that the brood has started, the queen has started laying. And it was like 109 growing degrees is what this guy was talking about. And I tried to look into that, but I found it quite confusing as far as the charts go to understand what I'm looking at.
I find it confusing to hear what you're saying, 109 degrees.
No, growing
Right.
growing degrees days. It's something that's something that the extension agent, your farming community, or not so much the farming community, but the extension, the Maryland, or not the Maryland, but I'll say the agricultural department puts out. If I've seen it, I've looked at it. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And I think a lot of times is that if you take their charts and you kind of make notes of what's happening in your area at the time, it kind of gives you sort of a sense of an indicator as far as what is kind of happening. But I will have to say, talking to older beekeepers and more experienced beekeepers, is that the what do you call what you would say? They say around the mid January is when the queen starts to lay. Now, I've been in there in some instances where very early on where I've pulled a frame up and there was a patch of cat brood maybe about as big as a silver dollar or 2 inches in diameter, something like that. And then there was eggs kind of rimmed around that and all that. And the biggest, I think another main thing is that if you have the bee population to keep that, the heater bees to keep that eggs and cat brood, 93 degrees, then she'll start laying even sooner. You've got Darren
Right.
coming in. Hey, Darren.
Hey,
Hello.
Darren.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. How's
I'm
things
sure-
up in Pennsylvania?
What's up?
How's things all up in Pennsylvania?
Pretty good. You brought up the topic of the pollen patties, and I was like, I'm glad you brought that up because I've been wondering what I should put mine in too. I think I might do it sometime this month, or like maybe within the next week or two.
I would, if you want them to boost them, I
Hey,
would say,
Darren, your
I would
maple
say-
trees probably bloom late March, right?
What's that? Tom?
The maples?
Yeah, that'll be about mid-June, or mid-March. I'll start seeing them bringing that pollen in, red maple. So
Yeah, so I would think second or third week of February, you probably want to put patties on.
yeah, I'm thinking that.
About 5 weeks ahead of that.
Yep.
yeah, for Paul, it's those F days, Fahrenheit.
But
Yeah,
bees are good. I checked my bees last week. They're all flying. I'm going to go in this week. Temperatures are going to be up in the 50s on Sunday. So I'm just going to pop the lids and see how they're doing. I have one hive that has a mouse problem. That I know there's a family of mice living in it. So I got to do something with that. So I might have to end up getting into that hive. But I'm happy that all 9 hives are doing well. And that way I can get a good start and get I want to expand off to 20 hives this year, I think. So maybe this will be a good year.
Yeah, it'd be good to put the pollen patties on then, boost them up a little bit so you can make splits
Yeah,
a little bit
Yeah.
earlier.
that's what I'm thinking.
I'm going to be taking nukes out and selling them. That's why I put mine on already. I want them to be as big as possible the end of March.
Are you guys, because Charlie, you said about buying the global patties. Are you guys buying it or are you making it? I made it one year and the bees wanted nothing to do with it. And all I got out of it was hive beetles. So
You made it or you bought it?
Huh?
You made your patties?
Yeah.
I tried making patties one year, and that was the end. That was enough for me. And
There,
I bought 20 pounds of pollen patty. I'm not a big pollen patty fan because there's a lot of pollen in Maryland. We have a tremendous amount of pollen coming in, and I've just started buying pollen patties again. Hey, Joey. And I went ahead and bought them because, number one, I got them from out there at, what do you call it?
Nobby.
Nobby.
Nobby or the Bee Expo. It was 20 pounds for $36, and all that. Hey, Lindsay. And so that's, price was pretty cheap, and it's got rocket fuel already in it. And Global has they seem to have a really nice soft texture about them over like pollen patties from, let's say, Man Lake, which is brown. And every time I ever got them, they were kind of hard and tacky. And the bees really didn't eat them because I don't think I used to put them in there. And it was one of them years where it was, I'll say February, and it was like 65 degrees and the bees were flying like crazy and there's no pollen or anything. And they would eat a pound of pollen patty in a week, easy. if not faster. And I went through like 40 pounds in no time flat. And after since then, we've had more of a cold winter or late, cold later in throughout the winter where we normally do. And so it just, I haven't really fed them that much, and I used to do a lot of pollen powder, and I did do some pollen powder this year.
You like the Ultra B stuff like that?
Yeah, I did some Ultra B. I had some Ultra B here where what I do is I get a 50-pound bag of it or whatever it comes in, and I'll pour it in a couple 5-gallon buckets so the mice and stuff don't get into them. And I use a lot of that in my my queen rearing. I take pollen powder, a little bit of sugar water, mix it up, make a paste, and all that. And I put that on top of the top bars when I'm feeding my cell builder.
They go after that?
Huh?
They take to that? They eat that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's like pancake batter, but a little thick enough to where it will just stay on top of the bars. I drizzle that across the top of the bars. The bees will come up like a bunch of little pigs and line up and start eating.
I tried just putting the powder up there, and they won't touch the powder. Like, at least for me, they didn't.
Yeah.
So then I started putting the powder out. Like in March, I'd put the powder out, and they'd really, like, about 50 feet away from the hive, and they'd fly right to that. It'd take them like a day to figure it out where it is, but they'd get that. They'd take that in real quick.
Well, they like the sugar water along with that pollen powder, and they chop it down like good.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That makes sense.
All right. Well, Darren, 2 years ago, I made the patties and put rocket fuel in it. I used Ultra B. But the global patties had 15% real pollen in it also. So it's a little bit better quality.
Right.
And like Charlie did, I bought it at the expo and got I looked at the price. I said, yeah, I can make it a little bit cheaper, but shoot, it's not that much more, and it saves me all that work of making it and the mess.
Yeah, I get it.
Pick your battles, right?
Right, pick your battles. And I had 200. I got 300 frames to wax. So I got 100 left.
So when would you guys stop with the pollen patties? Like about when? Because the idea is to stop before like the hive beetles and that.
Be right back.
Temperatures get too warm, right?
But Darren, I only put it on now, and when they finish it, probably in the next month, a few weeks, I don't put any more out. I only do it in the spring startup. That's about it. Because by then, pollen's coming in.
Right.
By middle of March.
Yeah.
So I only do it to boost them up so I can get nukes out of them. Now, if I wasn't even selling nukes out of them, I probably might even put them on.
Really?
Yeah. I just do it because
I've never done pollen patties.
Well, Joey, you got small hive beetles. I don't have that issue until August. Darren, you probably don't even get them, do you?
I've got pollen coming in like crazy right now.
I had hive beetles once, and that's when I used the pollen patties, and that's why I never used them again. And
well, that's another reason why I don't use them in the fall time. After a freeze, after a freeze it's okay, but just before that, I'll get small hive beetles a little bit.
Yeah, I don't get them a lot. Not like Bob Walker had them like last year. That was pretty nasty. Yeah. I've never had them like that, but.
Yeah, I think the most I've ever seen is maybe 10 or 12 in a hive.
Right. Yeah. When I say I have hive beetles, that's what I mean. Like I had like a hive beetle crawling here or there, not like serious hive beetles like you guys down south get. Like
it's nothing during swarm season. It's nothing to catch about 40 hive beetles in a swarm box.
Yeah.
I've killed 40 plus hive beetles when I transferred a swarm.
I've never seen a hive beetle in a swarm, and I catch a dozen or so every year.
Well,
I don't know what to say about somebody can't catch a hive beetle.
Yeah. I didn't get to watch it all the way through, but I see the big broadcaster using the hive lifter over there at Mr. Ed's. on the video today. Did you see
Yeah, I
it?
think he had fun with that thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't get to watch the whole video. So did he finally get on there and try that thing out?
Oh yeah, I did the first 4, and he took it from there.
And even
I-
Good Time Charlie used it at the very end.
Yeah, I guess he landed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I could see it definitely that for what they were trying to do, that it worked out wonderful for what they were trying to get done real quick. Beat lifting them
I don't
hives
think he,
with
I
that
don't think he
bar
moved
thing.
them far enough though.
Well, I didn't.
That bamboo will be everywhere.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask. Are they going to plant bamboo there? That is the most invasive crap there ever was brought into this country.
I hope I never see it around here.
That's right. There's a few pieces around here, and I said, "Don't you plant that crap around me?"
Yeah.
I tell you, if you plant it all the way around your property, nobody can get in or out.
AJW.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
No, I wouldn't want it. AJW.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple places around my area that people have them in their yard. And it's like, holy moly. Crazy.
Yep.
I didn't mean to scare you all out. Everybody got quiet all of a sudden when I came on.
No, I was typing
I
there.
know what happened.
I thought Charlie was going to say something.
I had to type some stuff
No,
for
I was
Hale
reading
here.
comments.
Maybe I should announce it ever. Hey, Nancy, good to see you. Did you get
Oh,
all?
I know Charlie's news.
Is that yes, for 2024, Sawmill Charlie has ordered his hive lifter. So it's been ordered about a week, I guess. So it'll probably
Yeah, what
take
model did you order? B3?
B3.
Okay.
Yep. The hydraulic cylinder, the one like Mike Berry, but mine's got the hydraulic cylinder. That was some of the things I went when I went to the expo. Me and Mike talked some, and he said that he would have if he had the second time around, he would have went ahead with the B3 model and all that. So and then I asked him about a few things when I used to watch him on his video and stuff like that. And so after that, and along with a few other people, I talked to James for about an hour and a half one day out in Alberta, Canada.
Joy's running around the country down there in Louisiana doing free demonstrations. You should have had him come up there, Charlie.
What's that, JW?
I said Joy Rawls is running around Louisiana down there doing free demonstrations. He should have come up.
Yeah, Joey could have got that. He got a nice looking truck. Didn't you got a Ford truck there, Joey? Was that a Ford? You had it in?
F-350.
350?
Huh?
That's a 350?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said, boy, it looks like my truck.
Yes.
Mine's a 250.
It's
Nancy
a
just
350,
came.
but it's got the Godzilla gas burning engine.
Oh, that's that big. Yeah. Nancy was asking a question about, I think it was pollen patties and all that.
Yeah, what's Nancy do for pollen patties, Nancy?
She has got, I don't know, Nancy might want to come on. I'm not sure, but
Come on, Nancy.
Yeah, she needs to come in here.
We'll see.
she wanted to know whether or not, like where we're at on the East Coast, whether you think our weather pattern is 2 weeks ahead of time, or is it just about the same as last year?
Heck, who knows? Do we even ever have a pattern anymore? It just does what it wants to do when it wants
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah, you're right, Morgan. There isn't a pattern anymore. It's crazy.
If I had a guess, maybe 1 week. But the problem is, it seems like we're a roller coaster. We get 2 weeks of warm, we get 2 weeks of cold. And it always
Yeah.
seems like it seems that the second half of the month is the cold part of the month. So if that keeps going true, when it gets into April, we'll get a cold third week of April and kill everything. That's what I'm
Um,
afraid of.
What's got me concerned? What's got me concerned down here? Like I said, we're getting plenty of pollen, but also I'm seeing nectar now, and that's kind of scaring me because my boxes are more full right now than they always have been this time of year.
Hey,
Usually
Nancy.
my bottom boxes are empty right now.
Hey guys, it took me forever to get through the force field there. To jump from the YouTube to the wherever we are. Hi, hello, hello.
Hello.
Wait, did I log off of the other one?
No, you can just mute it.
What is it?
She asked about the YouTube.
Okay.
You just mute it.
Yeah, just mute the YouTube part of it. Now you don't have no loop back.
Is it echoing now?
No, you sound good now.
No, you're good.
No.
I hear an echo.
You need to change your screen there, Nancy. I like the other screen I seen a couple minutes ago. It's a good looking picture of you.
What one was it?
That was just you.
Oh, I don't know.
It was.
There's so many. I'm on so many platforms. I don't know which picture I have up on which one. But my question was about if we're looking if we're thinking we're 2 weeks ahead. So I'm like north of Philadelphia, and I'm just wondering what everybody else is seeing. And I was on some other chats where supposedly everybody's seeing the same thing, but I was just wondering if anybody thinks we're 2 weeks ahead.
Well, Nancy, what are your temperatures now? Because Philadelphia is a lot warmer than here in central PA. You get that subtropic coming off the coast. So
yeah.
I don't know what your temperature. We're like in the 40s right now. It's going to be up in the 50s on Sunday. And next week it's talking like it's going to be getting near 60, which is pretty uncommon.
Yeah.
Right now it's 40 degrees here.
Yeah.
It's 39.
Same thing.
I'm fluctuating. Yeah. So all next week till Wednesday, I'm going to be 44 up to 47, 46. And then my lows are below freezing, 28, 25.
Yeah, that's what. So it looks like here in Indy too, 40s, 50s, and up until next Wednesday, be right below freezing at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for me. I'm looking at the month calendar here, and tomorrow it's supposed to get up to 48, and then all of next week is, I don't know, mid 40s. I'm going to say maybe a few 48s, and then next weekend it might be 53 and 59 on Saturday and Sunday, and then the following week it kind of goes down to 38 and 29, 26 degrees during the daytime. It's like you say, it's 1 week of hot or warm and 1 week of cold.
Yeah.
So, and all that.
Yeah, we're supposed next Thursday. We're supposed to be 60 degrees and sunny.
Yeah. Well, here it says supposed to be Friday, Saturday, and sunny, all in the 50s. Saturday will be 60 degrees. So I guess I'm about 2 days behind you, Tom.
Yeah.
As far as the heat coming from the west.
Right.
And like I say, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays in the 50s. Saturday, maybe 60. Monday is a 49, and Tuesday's 49. You might as well call it 50. But then after that, it dips back in the 20s. 25 to 29 degrees.
Well, see.
So when do you start feeding pollen patties? When do you start feeding pollen, Tom and Joe? Like when Darren, when you guys start feeding pollen? What do
I've
you look
heard
for?
from
What's your
my mentor,
indicators?
which is a third generation commercial beekeeper, if you want to get big hives early, you want to be 5 to 6 weeks before your first flowers that bloom. And for me, that's maple trees,
That's
Yeah,
silver
what
me
I
maple
too. Me
trees.
too.
when I see that red
So,
maple coming in, I'd put out the Ultra Bee stuff. Then
so
If you see the
I
maple
back up
blooming,
5 weeks. I think 6 weeks is pushing it, but I try to back up 5 weeks and try to find a good 50-degree day during that fifth week. And that was last week for me. If it's a normal spring, which I think it's going to be a little early this year,
hey
which is
Xander,
bad news
Yeah.
because that means we'll get one of those cold days and everything will be blooming and we'll get a freeze.
so I don't know. I mean,
Anything,
it's like we were discussing in the other chat, me and Nancy and a few others there, is that around mid March, I'm going to say is when the maples start to bloom. At least it does for me
Yeah.
that I can remember.
for me,
And I'm thinking, okay, we need to be we're right at around 6 weeks before that happens. So right, it's like one of the other folks said here, Valentine's Day is when they
Yeah.
put patties on. So I'm, 4 to 6 weeks. We're right where we should be as far as putting any patties on if we want good strong hives, or at least try to help them
For
to become
Valentine's
strong
Day.
hives. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And I mean, I don't know. They ran me up one side of the ladder and down the other because that's what they like to do. But uh, so yeah. So I'm thinking in another 2 weeks because she's laying. I think mine's laying already
Oh yeah, she's
from all the
laying. Yeah. Well, we were
yeah
talking about the growing degree days and all that kind of stuff, and what was it, whatever
Yeah.
his name was, talking about Tom or whatever his name, and all that. And I
yeah.
mean, I've talked to some guys that have been at it for 50 years, and they say, about mid January, she starts to lay a small amount, but she starts to lay.
Yeah.
And I think she's laying right now, not a lot because of the cold weather, but uh, I think somebody else was talking about it here. Maybe it was on one of the chats throughout the week where the brood was laying and then it kind of ceased for a while because of cold weather. And then she started picking back up as soon as it
Yeah.
got warmer and stuff like that.
Well, the nurse bees
One thing you
depend, they're the ones that are telling her to, hit the gas or hit the brakes, and then they'll brood trim it. They'll cannibalize some of those eggs if they got it wrong and she laid more than the hive can
handle,
sustain.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
so, I think with that being said, I think they'll be able to handle a couple bumps here and there, but I don't
how
know. I
long?
just
Hey Nancy, there is one con thing you have to be really careful about if you feed pollen patties ahead of time. There's a chance it will want to swarm early also. So you got to be on your
Yeah,
game to be checking for swarms a week or two earlier than you typically see them.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
How
see,
long would
that's
it
the
take
thing.
for a pollen patty to kick in? How much of a jump does that really give a, a queen? You know what I mean? Like you put a pollen patty in, does it take? Because it's a pollen
Well,
patty.
really, it's not so much the queen. It's more so it's feed for the worker bees to generate royal jelly and
Bee
stuff like
bread.
that. And bee
Yeah,
Right.
bee
bread.
bread. And
Bee food.
they top off the worker cells with a little dollop of pollen. So, I mean, do they use the pollen patty for that, or are they waiting for the fresh stuff for that?
I don't know. And then you got to figure there's pollen in the hive itself, since last, they've been storing it. So I don't know. It's I would say, like I say, as far as putting, it's like the hives I got behind me right there. They're my honey production hives. I want good solid colonies and and strong colonies to, to come springtime. So I'm going to be in there Uh, the last I got to looking at where at the time I need to go to Georgia, so it's going to be about the third week of March. I want to switch them babies over to honey production, give them the room and stuff like that. So, they should be in order to give them more room and so they don't swarm and manipulate the brood frames around some
Right.
stuff like that.
So did anybody see my little pretty well unprofessional, uncoordinated video of my little camera that I bought?
No, I don't think so, Morgan.
It's one of them little like endoscope cameras,
Okay.
and I put it in the hive, and you can see the bees in the hive through the camera.
All that, Morgan.
And like I said, I was trying to coordinate running this with one hand and filming with the other wasn't
Yes.
the most professional looking thing in the world. But you could definitely see, like in that hive, that was where I run it through the front where I put my sugar on, and that hive has ate a lot of the sugar. When I looked at it after work today, it was pretty light. So 3 of them are pretty light, and then I got one hive that I had to run the scope down through the frames, and I found the cluster. So it was that they were in there moving, and I've seen them flying a couple times, but they haven't ate hardly any of the sugar. But that hive was still heavy, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there a TV behind somebody running? Morgan, is that yours or?
No, I'm in the room away from everything.
It's not me.
I'm in my office.
How about you, DW?
No, I don't have. There's nothing on in my house.
Nope, not me either. And I was on mute. So it wasn't me.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out whose
So
it is.
I'm mute again.
What do you hear,
Can you
Charlie?
see it?
I just hear a
I'm by
background
myself.
talking.
I heard it too.
Yeah.
I still hear it.
Yeah.
Right there.
Let me go through and mute or I don't hear it now. All right, Morgan, you're unmuted. Joey, unmute. It's JW. JW, mute yourself again. Yeah, we're fine. Tom, everything. JW,
Yep,
unmute
it's
yourself.
him.
All right, now I don't hear nothing. All right.
Who's got
Anyway,
it?
I think whoever's got it, but I don't know. Just let's see. Honeybee Compound. He's got 5 frame over winter on honey only, and they got a half a frame of brood growing right now. And let's see. I'm finding. He's next to me, so there are, everybody's brooding up, especially down there in the deep south. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, like splitting already.
Mm-hmm.
If we get 60
I'll tell
degrees
you,
and
it's got
sunny
me
next
worried.
Wednesday, Thursday, I'll go check my biggest hive and see how much brood they got.
Yeah, I mean it's just not warm enough for us to dig down into the hives. I'll pull, and like the video I just uploaded, I pull one frame up. Yes, they got honey, plenty of bees. Put it back down, and I'm done, and all that. So,
But I'll go through one hive at 60 degrees. That won't bother me, especially if it's sunny.
yeah, if you get 60 degrees, yeah,
It's supposed to be.
I've got insulated candy boards on the top of all my hives, fellas, and it's been 50 degrees here all week, and I've been through 3 different yards. And you talk about the pollen patties. I use the fondant till up to about the last week of February, and then anything that's left, I take off the candy boards or sugar boards, whatever you want to call them, and take off my insulation. And then then I put the pollen patties on top of my frames of the ones that I think need it. But I've been through 3 yards in the last 3 days, a yard each day. They're smaller yards. They're all 10 to 15 colony yards, and they're all strong. And I've treated with oxalic acid everything, first treatment the last 3 days, and then next week I'll hit them again if the weather's decent. But I had the tops off. I didn't go down into them, but I've got screens on mine, sugar boards where I can see down through them, and they all strong. I didn't check for brood, but all my colonies seem to be very strong. I'm southeastern Illinois. I'm about straight west of Utah. So
Right. Well, I mean,
Gotcha.
pollen. Yeah, you were talking about the pollen patty and the fondant patty. Fondant's more of the sugar than the pollen patty, but
yeah.
But are you bringing in, since it's 50 degrees like that? Is your pollen blooming in your area, JW?
No, I don't have any blooms. I call them robber. I call them robber nests, but I've actually got some pollen out and away from the hives. I call
Right.
them robber nest,
Mm.
and the bees are just loaded to them. I've got them all within, or not anything closer than 200 yards of the actual yards, but I put out dry, well, it's AP 23,
Mhm.
pollen substitute, and I've got videos of them. They're just matted in there today and yesterday. When the sun comes out, they're on the move.
Right. Right. Now it's been cold here. It's been in the 40s pretty much all week, and I think, and now, like you say, last weekend it was warm for a couple of days, but even the first day was a Friday, which is 70. The next day was like 55, and they were flying, but not flying that much, and there was a few bees flying, but not a whole lot. But hey, Todd, and all that. So it's like you say, the darn weather is wishy-washy right now.
You think you have any of those big hives, Charlie, like you did last year when you opened that one hive up? Yes.
I think so. I put a video out and I opened up 2 of the 10 framers, and they're solid full of bees. Yeah,
I got some big ones right now too, Darren.
they're not completely covering the top layer of frame bars, but there's a good amount of bees on top of them bars. I didn't, of course, I didn't break them open apart or anything like that. What do you got, Joey? Oh, there's good
Yeah.
flight.
Oh, yeah.
Good flight there.
Yeah,
Here,
orientation flight.
let me bring you up. Let me hold on. Stay right there.
Darren, I looked at one of my 10 frames today.
Yeah, that's a lot of bees.
Mine's that way, Joy, up here in Illinois, every one of them.
Yeah, there you go. Hold it right there, Joey.
Yeah, orientation flights.
What's that? A steam kettle over there off to the right?
Here's a look. But I looked at one of my
that's
10
my-
frames today, and it was packed.
That's one of my little fire pits I use in
Uh-huh.
the backyard.
I hope to see a couple packed hives that I have, Tom.
Hey,
Yeah, hopefully.
Charlie,
What fire pit do you, Joy, when you're working your hives to keep you warm down there, do you?
Yeah. I bought that just for my granddaughter. She was having a Christmas party and she wanted a bonfire. And I said, well, I'm not burning a hole in my backyard. So
Yeah.
I broke down and bought that thing.
Does it get mighty cold down there, Joey?
Might
Yeah,
get
I
down
know.
to 50 degrees.
It don't take much of a candle, 2 or 3 candles. You can stay warm. It's like
tried
it's
to.
probably close to 40 degrees right now, 45, something like that.
I tried to
It's been up in the 70s.
I tried to show that little video that shows the bees when I did the scope, so I don't know if it could come up or not. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
I think Brian just did it. Brian from us, can't think of his last. He Castle Hives. He just did a video like that too. I think using that scope.
Yeah.
I didn't get to watch it.
He has one. He bought it last year. Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
to treat all my hives tomorrow. Silic acid vapor. That's my plan. Tomorrow morning.
What you gonna do?
Vape them. Silic acid vapor.
What's
One
what's
more
been your
time.
regiment?
What's
How
that?
how you been treating this winter? What did you do?
I haven't hit mine since December. I I do a formic for this year. I did formic. I did Apivar strips, and they did okay. Last year I do Formic Pro, but after I pull the honey, I treat all my hives with either Formic Pro or Apivar strips. And then starting in November, each month I try to hit them with oxalic acid. If I get a 45-degree day.
Yeah, I've been trying to do that too this winter. I've never done it before. I always would stop my treatments like in November, but now like I kind of like following Charlie's routine a little bit and doing something like every month. Just
Right. This February one will be my last one, and then I won't touch them until again July after I pull honey. That's typically what I do.
Yeah, you're about like me, Tom. I might hit them another time in early February, or not
Yeah,
February, but
which
March, early March.
March, maybe. Yeah, that'd be my
Most
sure my
likely,
last
probably, I'm going to try to do it this weekend, which will be the 1st of February, and then maybe hit them in the latter part of this month, or maybe depending on the weather, let's say close to March, and all that kind of stuff. So
you won't do anything
Right.
after March, Charlie. From March to July, you won't, or Tom, you won't
well,
do anything.
from
No.
April, May, June, I won't treat
Yeah.
it all.
Really?
July and on, I will. Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
you run mic checks, anybody?
Huh?
Have
Mic
have
check?
you done mic checks? Have
It's
you?
too cold now.
Yeah.
Way
Yeah, I
too
won't
cold.
mic check either.
So
Well,
Nancy,
Yeah, I know by July they're built up some, but I
yeah.
knock 'em- that's why I hit them pretty hard with the usually Formic Pro.
Right. So Nancy, are you getting ready you're going to be selling nukes, come springtime? You there?
She's muted. Or she's
No,
gone.
she left. She went back to this other
She
chat.
left.
Yeah,
I was going to
I
say
had
the only
I
mic
had a
checking
good
I've
phone
done
call
lately
just
is in
before
the
here. I
church
sold
to do
2
the
of them.
sound.
Too many people talking.
Hmm.
Joey, go ahead.
Go ahead, Joey.
I said the only mic checks I've done is in church. I do the sound.
Oh, sound checks. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I sold 2 more nukes today. That was a good deal.
Mentioned
Yeah.
about treating in the upper 40s. Yes.
That's perfect.
I try to hit them at 45 degrees. I used to say 47, 40, or around 48 actually. And what I found was this year is that 48, they're getting a little bit ready to fly, and some of them are flying. And then you got to fight them about closing the entrance off the way I do it, so they keep them in there while I'm putting the smoke to them.
Right.
So I found at 45, everybody's in the hive. You don't have to fight any bees. You don't need your smoker. And I blocked the front entrance up with my 1.5-inch square piece of styrofoam insulation. And yeah, that's right, Lynn. 45 is what I suggest. And that way you don't have to fight the bees trying to get out of the hive. And
Right.
and they're they say between 40 and 45, the cluster is broken inside. I'm not sure, but I think it is. And
Yeah, I think it is too. Because today it only got up to 48 degrees, and I had most of my hives were flying.
hey, David,
Not a
good to
whole
see
lot,
you
but they
back.
were.
Mine were flying yesterday. I don't know. I didn't check them today. It was cloudy and nasty by the time I got home. Had a little spell of that, but
I worked from home today, so I peeked out a couple times.
it's hard for me to work from home. I can't drive that truck around the house.
I gotcha.
Now, it was
Yeah.
cloudy here this morning, this afternoon, the sun popped out and they went flying strong. But I treated the hives this morning. I like to treat between 45 and 50, Charlie. That's when I've got an Instabat. That's when I try to treat, if, even on warmer days, you do it early in the morning before it gets too hot. Why?
Right.
It's the temperature low
Yeah.
enough where they can get them treated.
Tomorrow it's supposed to be low 50, so I'm going to hit them in the morning. It's getting around 44, 46.
Yeah,
Nice having the
Nancy
change.
said she's not going to be selling too many highs. I know she's been running the what do you call it, farmer market type things and trying to boost her honey production up.
Well, guys, I'm going to have to
Right.
get off here so I can get ready for myself because I'm going to go pick up my grandson from work here in a little bit. So, y'all take care. We'll talk to
All
you
right,
later.
all
See you,
right,
Morgan.
Morgan.
All right,
All right,
see you,
take care.
Morgan.
Bye.
All right, so Jason,
But
he's
Charlie, if you were doing mite treatments on a certain schedule, though, would it really matter what the temperature was? If it was too warm and some were flying, would you still treat?
I would.
Because we never had that good option down here. I mean, I've seen them flying on New Year's Day. So
Yeah, I would still treat Joey just because at least you're getting at least half the bees in the box. Eight. I try
that's
to
what
treat
I'm
them.
thinking.
Yeah, I would try to treat them early in the morning or late at night while most of them are in the box.
yeah. I mean, does it ever really get that cold down there where you're at, Joey? What's the coldest
No,
it get?
only
Maybe
once or
40?
twice a year.
What's the coldest it gets? 40, 30?
Well, it gets cold at night, but see, just like today, at about 10 o'clock, it was already hitting mid 60s
Right.
or upper
Okay.
60s,
And then, but what I'm
and it's
getting
been
at is
in the
in,
mid 70s all day long.
so January is 60-degree during the day all the time.
It goes up and down.
Maybe hit them earlier in the morning. Have to do one of those sunrise treatments.
Wake them up, huh?
Yeah.
Wake them up. Yeah. Or after right at dark at dusk, they're all
Yeah.
back in the hive again.
Yeah, that's probably the best time.
See, that's the thing. I was like with Bob Walker and his treatments and stuff like that. That's the hard part is that I know my area and it down where you guys are at, you like you say, you don't have you don't really have winter, so you don't really have a brood break for the most part. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering how effective oxalic acid is for you. Something that that Cameron Jack, he was down there in Florida, and he was up here in March of 1 year or 2 years ago, I guess it's been, and he talked about oxalic acid and that, sort of ineffective. Well, I asked him, I said, when did you treat? And he said, well, I treated in January in Florida, but that was like treating here in Maryland in September because of the temperature. Well, I don't never use oxalic acid in September. It's too warm.
Right.
So, he's telling about, oxalic acid wasn't all that great at the time. And I'm thinking to myself, no, only thing that you proved was it isn't any good in warm climates as far as trying to treat a hive that's broodless. And that was one of the things that I used to do is I used to try to take and treat multiple times per week from late September into October, and before the time change, and I lost about 50% of my nukes one year. I thought that I was treating them, killing the mites as they were coming out of the uncappings, and it just didn't work. And so I developed it. I said, okay, I'll listen to the science folks. So I said, I'll treat through the brutalist times, or the near brutalist times, which is the winter. And I've been doing that last 2 years. And in 22, I participated in National Honeybee Survey, and I had a 0.2 infestation, which is a 1.0 is really good. I did better than that. So it proved for me, it worked, where I was doing mite treatments from late July all the way through the wintertime until springtime. And I'm suppressing the mite load continuously throughout the year. It never gets out of hand. Now, if you got a mite load in your hive, it's really out of hand. Yes, oxalic acid is a great knockdown product. Aprivar is not a knockdown. And, down there where Joey's at, I would say if you're getting into the 70s, that April-Guard would work good for you down there in the wintertime. And I don't know, the what do you call it? The vote is out on the April-Var, whether it's being resistant and stuff like that. I mean, I talked to Brian from Flower Street Hives, and he went to that seminar down there in Biloxi and he was in the talk about the whether or not Amatraz has been, getting to the point where the bees and the mites are used to it and all. And they said about 80% effective, and they don't know why it's the other hives it's great and other hives it's no good. So, it's up in the air. But it's like with Bob and you and all, you're going to have to look at, it's like you have fall flows and stuff like that. We don't really have fall flows around here. Nothing to be even thinking about. And you have to kind of look at what, when your weather is, as far as what's blooming, if you're still harvesting fall honey. And then after that's when you would start treating and things to that nature.
Yes, Jerry, if I was down in your position, if there is a time during your winter time where you don't have much blooming and it's 60, 70 degrees, I'd hit them with Formic Pro. Because it's not, I mean, you won't do that much damage to your hive if it's only 70 degrees out. It's those hot, humid days that gets them.
Yep.
And that would really 100% knock your mites down if you have any mites. So you might just want to do Formic Pro at a little bit different time than I would do it up here.
I did Formic Pro in September, and that was right after we had like a 99-degree week. And then it went into 75-degree with low humidity for 2 weeks. And I hit them with the full strength mount and everything's fine. I've never had any queen issues. And as long as it's got that low humidity, and I know you guys talked about, extreme heat in the summertime and whatever, and especially in the fall, I would never use that until, like I say, right in the middle of the winter. I think that's the key. Your time frame is several months, 3 or 4 months difference in ours. And, you're kind of like Ian and Brad and all them up in Canada. They're not even thinking about getting into their hives now, but we're prepping, and we're treating, and in your area, due to the temperatures, you're 3 or 4 months later than us. And I think that I would think, kind of depending on the pattern of your heat, I would think that the the dead winter months are the months that you need to treat, and not so much in the summertime.
Yeah, January.
January, February, I don't know whether December is a real cold month for you or not. But, if you haven't, I mean, I've used the Formic Pro this year. The one thing I noticed was last year I used Formic. I'm going to say August is what my notes state. And then I used Aprivar. And then that winter I had a fair amount of mite drop in my oxalic acid that I was doing in wintertime. This year I did Aprivar Formic Pro in September. And now I've been hitting my highs with oxalic acid, and I don't really have much of a mite drop. So it's really, I say that the Formic Pro really does a good job of it. And I tried to tell that to another group, and well, we could have, they've been saying, yeah, that was, we could have told you that, basically. I told you so type of thing. But they're the ones that also put it in there when it's hot and humid. And I'm like, did you read the darn weather pattern? And then they come back, well, I got, 10 queens that are dead. I'm like, well, what do you think? It's too hot.
Yeah, I won't even do it above 80 degrees.
No, it says 85. I don't do, if it's got to be
No.
below 80 degrees and
Yeah.
low humidity. That's what I found. It works the best. It's the most safest.
And ventilate. Crack your lid.
I've never done that. I just put it in there and let it go.
If it's 80 degrees, I will.
Mm.
And it's usually only the first 3 or 4 days too. You can get warm after that. So if you get a 3 to 4 day period below 80 degrees, it's a good treatment. But that's hard sometimes.
Now, Darren says, I guess you call it Alhambra. I can't pronounce that. I'm no pronouncing the words.
Oh,
It's a painting. I kept looking at it too. It looked like a bunch of dust bunny brushes.
Looking at it, it does, doesn't it?
Or if it had a little bit of color, it would look like peacocks, but it's not. It looks like feather dusters back there, but it's some kind of a tree painting, I think.
That's my cousin gave me that painting. It's trees. It's a forest. It's a Pennsylvania forest, I guess.
Okay, so it's his first year painting.
I'm just messing. I can't paint. I can barely paint a beehive.
I hate painting. That's why I wax dip now as much as I can.
No, I hate painting.
He thought it was fox pelts. Oh my!
I didn't have anything to do. It's a big painting. It's actually big, and I didn't know where to put it, and that's like the only wall that I have where it would fit. So there it is. I don't know what else
hey,
to do.
speaking of wax dipping, Tom, do you wax dip tanks at your place or boxes at your place or woodware?
Well, I got a friend on the other side of town that I do it there.
Yeah. Do you? What's the going? I've got my own tanks and stuff, but I never done it for other people. What's the going rate on that? Or would it be a fair price? What do you guys think about that on per box? Or
I know my friend George charges $5 a box.
well, that's what I was kind of thinking. I'm getting a lot of calls for it. People found out that I got my own tanks, but I've never done it for the public.
Now, Zig,
Yeah,
Shane here.
I usually go over there. We kind of partner together. We do our own queen insemination and stuff like that. And I'll go over there and dip for everybody for a whole day. And I just do mine for free because I'm dipping all his customers.
Well, the wax and the crystalline is getting where it's pretty expensive anymore. So if you're going to
Oh,
do
yeah.
it, you got to get something out of it. I figured like $5 a box, and or individual piece of woodware, whether that be a box or a bottom board or top or whatever is what I was thinking.
I think if it's a lid and a bottom board, he'll charge $5 for those two pieces
Yeah.
at one time.
Yeah. and each individual box 10 or 8s or whatever.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make any difference if it's an 8 or 10 or if the honey box or not.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I want to be fair with people. If I do it, if I've got some extra time, I don't mind doing it. But I'm starting to get several calls for it. The word's got out that I've got
The way he's got his set up, that once we pull it out, we can actually put it on a rack right above it. So a lot of the wax drips back into it
I do the
before
same.
we pull it off.
Yeah.
That helps save a little bit.
Is it really worth all that going through for the wax in your boxes?
I think it is. I've got some boxes that's over 20 years old that, wax dip long years ago. That's before they had the crystalline substitutes and the preservatives in the actual wax. But the wax I've got a 4 foot long, 2 foot wide, 2 foot deep tank, and it takes me right at $900 worth of wax and crystalline solution to get that.
Brian wants to ask that question. You got $5 a box, but you got your time plus your wax plus your propane, and I know it takes a lot of hours of getting that stuff hot.
Well, it depends on your heating system. I don't have a big. I can have my tank will be solid. I leave the wax in there, of course. My tank will be solid, and usually in less than an hour's time, I've got two. They're actual furnace burners underneath it. And my tank, I built it myself. It's made out of 3/16 inch sheet steel, and I can have it. I dip. I run it 240 degrees, for 20 minutes is the way I got mine set up, and I keep track of it, and keep track of the temperature, and I dip each individual box for 20 minutes at 240 degrees. Is the way I do mine.
How many boxes can you dip at a time? Just one or more?
Sir?
How many boxes?
I've never done it for the other people. I usually do, 20 or 30 at a time, at least of my own. And I've done some for neighbors, but I've never done it, commercially, or I don't intend to do it commercially, but I would do it for accommodation of my local bee club people and that type of thing.
Where do you live at, JW? Is it Illinois?
Yeah, I'm southeastern Illinois.
I just didn't.
Yeah, I'm about halfway between Tom and Cincinnati and St. Louis, Missouri. And that I'm about 140 miles straight west of Tom, maybe a little bit south even.
Yeah, a little bit south. Probably about a three and a half hour drive.
Yeah, that's about what it is.
Yeah. Because I know I can get to St. Louis in under 6 hours.
Yeah. It's about the same time each way for me. Maybe I might be a little closer to St. Louis than I am Cincinnati, but that's where I'm located.
Is it pretty hilly where you're at, JW?
Rolling, not
okay.
Just rolling hills. I'm not in the big hills of the Shawnee Hills of Southern Illinois. I'm just on the north edge of them. I'm just in rolling hill country.
Okay. I knew you were close to it.
Yeah.
We're getting close to it. Yeah. It's hilly where I live. There's some of that Appalachian Mountain cuts through Kentucky and hits just on the west side of Cincinnati.
I come across the sales over at Florence all the time. Just south across the river. And
yep.
I buy equipment and stuff if I need it, just for my own self. But J.J. Kane's got a big yard over there pretty close to you.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with them. So.
Yeah. Shoot, I'm only 3 miles. I can be in Kentucky.
Yeah.
A straight line. But it takes me 20, 25 minutes to get to Kentucky.
Yeah.
My bees fly into Kentucky at the max.
They got a different accent down there than the bees that go south. Do they have a little different accent when they come home?
They pick up a little bit of that. Hey, y'all.
Tom, on my way down to Nobby, I drove through Cincinnati. I wasn't expecting that traffic. I'm a country boy. I wasn't prepared for all that. That was the worst part of the whole trip. That was like the longest
Yeah.
part of the trip. It was like 4 or 5 lanes, I think, and I was like, "When is this going to end?" It was just going on forever. That was like too much for me. Like,
Yeah.
that's it.
They're
About
gonna
an equal
build
way
a
way
new
back.
bridge, but I probably won't be alive to see it. Yeah, that's a bottleneck right through Cincinnati to Kentucky, big time. But there's a little ferry that goes across the river. I take that across the river, and it's nice and peaceful. But nobody knows about, except for those people on the west side,
Where's
straight
that?
down the hill from me.
Where's the ferry go? Is it a car
Across
ferry?
the Ohio River into Kentucky or back to Ohio. Anderson Ferry, Anderson Road.
So you're not right in, like you're like out from, since you're in the suburbs of Cincinnati, or where are you
Yeah, I'm
at?
in a suburb.
It's kind of on the northwest side of Cincinnati.
Yeah. That's what it
I'm
sounds
on the
like.
dead west of Cincinnati. I'm 2 miles from the Ohio River, and I'm 6 miles from Indiana. So I'm in the corner of Ohio. And it's hilly. We have roller coaster roads. There's one road just down the road from me, and within 1 mile, you drive all 4 directions, north, east, west, and south in 1 mile.
JW, how many
Just
boxes can you
following,
put in your
just
tank?
following the creek.
I don't have my chat hooked up. I was going to try to respond to Stone River there, but I can do, depends on the boxes. If they're 10 frames, I can do 5 if by turning them sideways and slipping inside
Yeah.
one another. And if they're 8 frames, I can do 7 or 8 sometimes.
Right.
What
Yeah,
you
the
got
one
to
that my
watch
friend
is
has, we can do
depends on
6
how much
deeps.
moisture. It depends a lot on how much moisture is in your individual hive boxes. If it's I'm in a high humidity area, and if it's real humid, you'll get a lot more moisture coming out of that wood, because it actually cooks the water out of the wood, is what that, and that crystalline and wax actually permeates, like where you got finger joints and stuff. That's where my boxes, or the boxes that you paint, usually rot out, and it actually penetrates the wood in those finger joints and so forth, and then you won't have that rotting it's what I like about it. You don't have it rotting in those joints.
Yeah, I think that makes the box a little bit stronger too. When you go to hit those corners with your hive tool, they seem to hold up a lot longer too.
I just like it. I just like it because I'm like Joey there. I absolutely atrociously hate to paint. I just don't like to do it. So, but it's not cheap. I mean, it's
I
not
usually
cheap.
buy about 12 wax dip boxes every year,
Yeah,
slowly replacing everything.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. And if it's been painted 5 or 6 years ago, I'll dip those because the paint's getting really thin on them.
We don't have anybody around here who does it, so I thought maybe that's something that I could do, like a side business kind of thing. But then, like, we don't even have any commercial beekeeping, like even like sideliners that would have enough hives to even. It would cost me more money to heat up the wax than it'd be worth. Somebody would show up with like 2 boxes, and I'd make $10 off of it and spend
You
$15.
can't do it. You can't do it for that. The first thing is that if you ever watch some of Cayman's videos in the past, where he used to get the box of that paraffin wax, and then there's something else that goes along with that paraffin wax, just the product.
Crystalline.
Yeah, that's it. Just the amount. I mean, Tom, you should know there's a lot of money just in the stuff that you got to melt, let alone the propane and everything else. There's a guy in Philadelphia area that does it for Westchester Bee Club, and they're out there at like, I don't know, like 4 o'clock in the morning, start just to get it hot, so it's ready to go by 8 o'clock. Stuff like that to heat that.
Yeah, I don't know how many boxes we do. We do it 4 times every spring, and we probably do 300 or 400 every day. I mean, every Saturday for 3 to 4 Saturdays in a row. That's how many boxes we dip for the greater Cincinnati area.
Well,
It's a
I don't
lot.
have that kind of a population. I don't intend to do that many, but I don't find it, to be that big a deal. Of course, I'm totally retired, and all I do is mess with honeybees anymore. So I've got a lot of time, so it doesn't bother me. But as far as the time that it takes, it's not that big a deal. I can do 50 in, oh, well, I'm going to say 2 hours,
Yeah.
So, Charlie, what's your real opinion on that? You have a polystyrene hive, right?
Yeah.
Would you? How many do you? You just got one, or would you?
I just have one. I got a 6-frame licensed polystyrene high 5/5 nuke.
Would you recommend those? What do you think about them for real?
Well, it's getting through the wintertime. They're great, and as far as like if you're kept up with this condensing hive thing where you don't have any upper ventilation and it creates a heat dome with inside the box, and the heat dome kind of comes down, and then of course the moisture condenses on the side walls and not raining down on the hive or the bees. It works. The only ventilation I've got is the front entrance, and there's 4 circles in that bottom board, and it's like a 3-inch hole. I left one of them open, and that's it. Bees are working fine in there, but the downside of that thing is it's polystyrene. Try to put a ProVap in there without melting something. And what I do is I took a piece of Luan, bored a 1/4-inch hole for that hot pipe to go in on that ProVap, and I made sure that pipe was in the dead center of that open front. And that's another downside is my other hives, I block the front off, I bore a hole in the back bottom board, and I don't see any bees, and blow it up into the hives, and you take it out and you're fine. If it eggs the hole out, so what? I mean, a lot of people will put something in there to close that hole up. I just let the bees will come out the back, but nothing like the front. And the downside is you got to watch out for it melting the hive.
What about the propolis? I mean, would they break apart? Like if you get bees that really propolis, you think they could?
They're got the polystyrene, and then there's a heavy piece of plastic on the edges.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to pop. It ain't like wood, where wood's got the pores in it, and it kind of like glue goes into the pores and really makes it doesn't really it's slick enough that it will pop apart pretty easy. I bought it. I was going to try to use it as a cell builder hive. And then I got to thinking about, well, in order to feed, I had a 5-frame nuke, so I had an inner cover. So I bored holes at a certain location on that front and back corners. And the holes are big enough to where my quart jars fit right there. And I have a black line where it centers everything up. And then I'm usually taking that inner cover off, and then I'm pouring that, taking the poly powder, the pollen powder, and mixing it with slurry and making a slurry out of it and putting that on top of the hives, multiple times and stuff. And that's a pain that, you can't do that. The problem with the polystyrene hive, it's sort of proprietary. Can't put a wooden box on there. You got to buy one of their boxes, and they're not cheap, as far as any, building them up. That's the downside of all of them. Is what I find.
Of our hive, you can put wooden boxes on top of their boxes.
Which ones, Tom?
Apamay. Yeah, I have one of those.
Now the Apamay is expensive, and it's a plastic exterior plastic hive.
It's plastic with foam in the inside.
Yeah, expansion foam on the inside.
But the same problem with melting it. If you want to hit It's like acid vapor with it. You know what? You
You would
mentioned that
think,
condensation hive.
yeah. Well, the thing of it is you would think that these poly hives, whether they be plastic or polystyrene, that they know we're all using vaporizers now that are 300 degrees or more, 400 degrees Fahrenheit, that they would
Right.
have a port designed for all that stuff. They got a
Right.
port for everything else. They got automatic closures and all this other stuff and
Right.
ventilation shims and everything. You would think they would figure that one out real quick.
Well, I'm going to drill a hole and put a little sleeve in mine, copper sleeve or something, metal sleeve in it. Then do my golf tee to plug it up, like I do my wooden hives.
Right.
Well, you guys, I've got an Instavac. I just got the little tube on them, So Robbie's makes a Loran or whatever plastic type little V-shaped
Insulator.
deal that
Later.
goes over the tube. I
Yeah.
just stick it right in the round holes on my Apamaze. I've got a few Apamaze. I just use them. I use them primarily for like Charlie said, for as mating nukes and that type of stuff. Or I got the sevens that you can split in the middle and make. You got three frame mating nukes on each side, and then you can reverse the entrances from one end to the other. Works real well for that, or
Right.
for cell finishes or cell builders, either one. I like them for those.
Yeah, Ed uses ceramic tube, where if you can find one of them.
Yeah.
Ceramic tube would be best.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that. I mean, that's the downside. I mean, there's some things about in winter wise are fine, but
Yeah.
and I'm sitting here thinking about that. And I've looked at this video about this gal. She's got this insulation package, which is $80 per hive for a 10 framer. And I'm like, it's like, but I still get my hives through the winter pretty good. Here the last several years has been quite good the way I'm doing it. I'm putting carpet behind them. The carpet's not for insulation. It's more for windbreak and keeps the wind off of them and that kind of stuff. And I keep the fuzzy side towards the boxes and keep the outer side, the backing towards,
Towards the weather.
yeah, towards the weather. I was reading the thing here. And what did he have? This Abraham ordered.
I got to do a video for everybody how to overwinter hives. I overwinter mine in singles. I put no honey above them whatsoever, and I lose 1% each year or less because I do. Last 3 years, I've been doing condensation. Well, that's what they call it now, condensation hives. And I do not change my hives out even for winter or summer. All my bottom boards, except for my one bench, I have R15 plus on the bottom of all my hives. And on my top, I got R7 to R8 on all my hives. And I leave it on all year round.
How do you put that insulation under? Because I was wondering about how you're doing that. What do you?
I buy that 1 inch to 2 inch high density board and I put it on top of my 4x4s.
And that's
Each one's R6.5, and then I use solid bottom board. I use solid bottom boards.
That's 2-inch insulation board.
So I cut the boards in half because they're 4 feet long, so they're 2 feet wide, and I put my solid bottom board right on them. And then the only thing I do in the winter time is I shake all my bees down from my double or my big hives from the flow down into a single. I put a shim on top of them, and I put two sugar bricks on top of them, 2 to 3 pounds. I'll feed them though after I get done pulling the honey. I feed them and I let them pack that single box. So time winter comes, she's only got a spot that big, and the rest of it's all honey. and I just put 2 blocks on top, and they overwinter. I don't lose hives.
Nope. I overwintered two singles this year, and well, it's only two, and it's still February. It's only February, so there's plenty of time left for them to go downhill. But I was kind of surprised that they made it, this far, because I didn't think you could here in Pennsylvania, but you can do it.
And we just had 2 weeks where it never got above 25 degrees, and every 3 or 4 nights it got -2, -4, 0 degrees, and no problem.
Hey, Carl.
And it is, I simulate a tree. If you look at a tree, the bees are in a tree. It's R infinity down to the ground, and it's R infinity above them. I mean, there's no heat loss up and down a hive, and on the sides you got R6 to R8. That's what they say the insulation value is of a tree and its bark. So all the condensation is on the side. And I try just to mimic that, do the same thing. Well, of course, I don't have a tree, but I'd make sure that my R value is twice, 3 or 4 times what my sidewalls are in my box. I don't wrap them or nothing.
So you remove that bottom insulation in the spring, right? You don't run that all year.
No,
Oh, you
I
always
run
have
it
that?
all year.
Oh, do you?
And I don't take it off the top either because it keeps it cooler in the summertime. That sun's beating down on the top of it,
Yeah.
it's keeping that box cooler.
Yeah.
So
I
there's
hope
no,
you do a video.
so there's no upper
What's that?
ventilation, right, Tom?
No ventilation. In the summertime, I just use nails or a stick, and I'll put underneath of it just to get some air out of it on those really hot days.
But
That's
now,
about it.
yeah. So you're saying it's called what did you name this way of
It
doing
comes in a 4x8 sheet, high density board.
Yeah,
You
but
can
is that
sell it at Home
insulation?
Depot.
What is that?
It's a styrofoam. It's not styrofoam. It's some kind of. It's a high. It's six R6.5 for a 1 inch thick high density. They call it a high density board. Both Lowe's and Home Depot sells them, but Home Depot sells a brand that's 6.5 for 1 inch.
Right.
And I switched all my screen bottom boards a few years ago to solid bottom boards so I could seal that bottom up.
What do you think about gluing that insulation to the bottom of the bottom board? Does that make sense to do that?
Well, I found out once that bottom board and all that weight is sitting on that high density board, it kind of seals itself.
Was
I
it?
mean, when I pull it off, I don't pry it off, but it doesn't just slide off of it. It sticks to it kind of.
You don't have
Works
any
good. I got
problem.
to do a video on it.
Yeah, do a
You
video.
don't have any problem with ants getting into that styrofoam insulation?
A little bit, but not too bad. But
I've
they
got
will.
big black wood ants here. They'll eat one of them up, and oh, in the season's time, you'd have to replace them every year if you had them on the bottom.
I've had mine on for 3 years now. I haven't replaced them.
Huh?
So,
You got
but
them big black
I
wood
don't
ants?
run. I run shingles underneath my hives.
Yeah.
Just so, and I put a hardscape underneath all my hives. I use shingles, so I don't have as many ants on my hives like some people do.
You can tell by I run every colony or every hive, on individual stands. I don't have, mine on pallets or, in a row
Yeah.
like a lot of folks do. I like them separated at least 10 foot each individual colony.
Now, Tom, what did you call that style of hive that you're saying? What is it called? Not a condensing hive, but
They call it condensing hive. Somebody came up with that term this year.
Yeah, that's been a popular topic on YouTube lately.
yeah.
I've been running it for 3 years now, not knowing I was running that style of hive. I just tried to mimic.
There's a guy named Heshback. He had a thing in ABJ, and he
Yeah.
actually is going to be coming to our state meeting
he's up.
I just
He's
look.
I like
I
him.
do probably 3 or 4 trees every year, and I just look at a tree trunk and I said, "Shoot, these bees are so insulated, top and bottom. It's crazy." And I did one 2 years, 3 years ago. That was in the very early spring, and I could feel the moisture on the side of the inside of the tree cavity. And I said, "Oh, that's perfect. They never have moisture dripping on them. It's dry as a bone."
Yeah, Brian was talking about Bill Heschbeck. Actually, I had him zoom in. He's up in Vermont, I think. Zoom into my club meeting. He did a 45-minute presentation on the condensing hive. It was very informative. And then there's been some other folks on YouTube using his information along with Randy Oliver and a couple of different other folks. There's a lot of Connecticut. He's up in Connecticut. And he's actually going to either Zoom or be live here in Maryland here in the next week or so. So, and
Is that
all
at your
that.
club, Charlie? He's going to be at your club.
He was at our club. I
Oh.
had him zoom in, and I'm just checking my notes here, calendar wise.
I got to join your club. You guys get some good speakers.
Yeah, well, we do pretty good. Yeah, the Maryland. It's going to be Saturday the 10th. He's going to be in the Maryland State Beekeepers Association Club, and I don't know whether the man's going to be zooming in or they're going to fly him in. But yeah, we try to have some decent speakers. I try to have at least a good speaker. Yeah, I am the president, so I don't make the decisions on who brings everybody in. Actually, we have a pretty good collective, a bunch of folks on our board that find out different people to bring in. This month, we're going to have a honey tasting, and that's where all you folks have given me all that creamed honey and running honey from all over the United States and Canada. I'll be presenting all that for everybody to have a taste of it. And then we're also going to do our own, what would you call it? Best tasting honey, not so much black jar, but we're going to cover up the bottles and people are going to taste, and whoever has the most chips, or we're going to have like 3 different colored chips, and they get so many chips, I believe is how it works. And whoever has the most points wins the best tasting and stuff like that. Plus, people can bring in mead and all that kind of stuff. It's a nice little social aspect we're trying to do. We did it last year and it went over very well and all that. So, but yeah, we try to bring in a lot of information in for our club members. Not sure if everybody grasps everything, at what they should be doing, or maybe trying something out. So anyway,
There used to be a beekeeper. I don't know if he's still on. He was up in northern part of Michigan, the upper
you're talking
peninsula
about
part of
30,
Michigan.
33-mile bees.
No, it was some guy named Kevin somebody. And he used to run about 25, 30 hives. And he found out that if he vented his hives, he lost his 30%. If he didn't vent his hives, he lost 30%. He found no difference whatsoever. And I go, "Oh, that's interesting." So I started not venting my hives, and I was actually getting better numbers not venting. And then I decided, you know what? I lost hives because my queen was brooding down in the center of the box, and they ate all the honey up above, up into the second box, but the bottom part of that frame is where she laid all of her brood. And I had hives die because she had 3 frames of brood on the bottom 2/3 of this frame, and all the honey was 2 inches or higher, 3 inches or higher and above them. And we would have a cold spell in end of February, and those hives would die because they would not leave that brood.
Yeah.
And
So was
all
that,
the bees were on the brood.
so
So I
was
said,
that,
you know what? That's when I went into singles because I don't want to have that happen. I'm going to keep all that honey packed right on top of them. And since I've done that now, my numbers have gone way down.
So was that BKBs? Was he was up in
It
the
might
upper
have been.
he was up the upper peninsula. Yeah, I think
He
he
was up
moved
there pretty far. Yeah.
upper
No, I
he
know
was
who
up
you mean, Tom. That guy. I think he quit doing videos because I think he lost all of his bees because he was allowing like big openings, like entrances in his hives like that, like and
He was doing some crazy stuff.
yeah. He's the one that did the experiment on the mouse though, and found out that like a mouse could do like get through like a hole, like a almost like a quarter inch hole.
Yeah.
That guy, I know.
was that the guy that had the kind of like a what was it? A rector set, and it would keep getting the hole smaller and smaller until they finally got in. Something like that.
No, I don't know if it was that guy, but this guy put a
Yeah.
mouse in a box and he drilled a hole in it. It was like a quarter inch or whatever, 3/8 of an inch or something. And the mouse got out somehow. And kind of,
Yeah.
I guess the point was that like these entrance reducers or mouse guards don't always work the way we think they do. But
But
I don't know.
he would say some stuff that was very interesting at times, and I
I
would
liked
just
him.
pick from it.
Yeah, I liked him. He was interesting.
Last year, I did almost all my hives in singles, and I didn't lose any of them. The three I lost were in doubles. So this year, I got all but three of my hives in singles, and I got three of them in doubles because I ran out of equipment. And I just kept them in doubles. So when I do my singles, I actually run them on double screen boards. So they look like double hives, but they actually got a double screen board in between them. So I stack them too high. I might even stack them 3 high next year.
Now, let's see. We got Westcliff Honey here. What thread are we talking about as far as condensing hives, Westcliff? Have you got something that you can put in the chat so folks can
Yeah, I don't know.
read up on that? But
Yeah, if you look at my picture, I'll go the other way. Those hives in the middle of that bench are all double screen boards with a single double screen and another single.
yeah, but yeah, I like I say, I mean, for me, I have a lot of wind in my area, so I put the carpet around them. That really helps out a lot. Of course, I got where my nukes are, they're right next to a barn, so I don't have any. I got a natural windbreak there. I don't really wrap them at all. And
Yeah.
and that's the thing. I talk about all this insulation and everything, but yet with what I've been doing, I've been highs have been getting through the winter with no problems. As far as
Right.
you know, yeah, I mean,
I'm sure that carpet helps a lot.
well, it keeps the wind off. It's just like anything. If you stand in the sun and you're next to a building, it feels like it's 20 degrees warmer. If you stand out past the building in the sun and the wind's blowing, then it feels like it's 20
Yeah.
degrees cooler.
Right. Well, you notice I got a windbreak on my barn. My barn is a big windbreak.
And all.
So that helps too, having a windbreak.
Right. So anyway, Joey, what's happening?
Hey, Charlie, I'm gonna have to get off here. I keep getting texts. I've got a boondocking site on my property. I don't know if y'all know what that is. That's where
Not
RVers
really.
spend the night. When
Yeah.
they're passing through. And for some reason he can't book it, and I'm trying to help him, and I'm getting sidetracked with the phone, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get off.
All right, Joe's.
Try to
We'll
get
see
that
you later.
all
All
right.
right, Joey.
All right. Good night.
See you. Yep.
Well, hey guys, I'm gonna get off too because I need to go eat dinner still, and I might jump back on, Charlie, if you're still on.
Shoot, don't everybody leave.
I might jump back on.
I don't know. Might be
Carl's-
shut
Well,
down.
that
by
Carl's
picture
gonna
looks
jump-
better now since you zoomed up behind
Carl's
you.
gonna jump on pretty soon.
You can eat and stay on at the same time.
Yeah.
Bring the food to your spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you run? You're what, running 8 frames, JW?
Yeah, primarily eights. I've got a few tens left. I'm trying to switch over.
Yeah, we
There
got
comes your old standards coming in on you.
yeah.
Where y'all going?
I
Bedtime?
don't, I don't
Friday
know.
night?
Yeah, Doug.
I done went to the movies and watched the Beekeeper movie today. I'm all fired up. Let's go.
So what wasn't that more of a action packed
Oh
shoot
yeah,
'em
it's
up,
great.
shoot 'em up thing?
It
It
was
had
great.
nothing to do. Didn't really have anything to do
Well,
with bees, did it?
Well, yes, but I don't want to give it away to everybody that hadn't seen it yet.
What did he do? Take and put beehives over somebody's head and sting them to death?
So to give you the gist of the story, he is a beekeeper, but there's like this covert function in the government that's like one of these black ops things that is called the beekeepers that run outside of all of the laws. And they're set to regulate the hive. When things go awry, they just can take it upon themselves to right the situation. But during the whole movie, they're making references to beekeeping and how bees react. And the lady's actually studying a beekeeping book the FBI lady, so she can kind of get the gist of what's they're thinking, you know. So to me, it was interesting more from the aspect of, hey, we're shooting up stuff and fighting. You know, that was a good movie. But yes, it did have beekeeping undertones throughout the whole movie.
This thing looks like it's all planned to me, Charlie. I
I
think
want to
these
know
all
what was
young guys-
leftovers today.
Do what?
I want to know what Todd had for leftovers because Friday's leftover Friday.
It was pork. What was it? Pork chop with chopped up potatoes, but then I made a mushroom gravy with sautéed onions.
Well, that sounds good. That doesn't
were you
sound like
saying, JW?
leftovers.
Yeah. What? JW, what? You were saying something, JW?
I was just saying, I thought this was all planned when all you young guys come on here at once.
Young guys.
Not
I think you just
Yeah,
been holding
yeah.
off, y'all.
Yeah,
Attack him at once.
Bob's the baby here. That's pretty bad.
I am. I'm
Yes,
the
he is.
young buck of the group here.
I'm the second youngest.
Yeah, we don't know how old Tom is.
Well, I don't know how old Tom is. I'm just assuming, I guess.
You just look old, Tom, so that's why he assumed he was younger
Tom,
than you.
when did you graduate high school? We won't ask your age, but when did you graduate high school?
We can deduct the rest.
79.
19 what?
Okay.
79?
That makes me 62.
Yeah, you're the next.
63
You're
this year.
Well, I am the second
A
youngest.
couple
Then.
more months. So I'm not that old yet. Getting there.
Just teenagers, JW.
yeah,
Yeah.
just babies. Mere babies.
Babies. Aren't they, Doug?
I have learned though, I don't let the old in. So I'm going to try to stay young.
Doug.
Just don't let it in.
Brad ruined me with Canadian television.
Oh no.
I've been watching Corner Gas for the last 3 days, binge watching the series. So I'm sure you know what that one is.
We've heard of it.
Well, Doug should know what corner gas is.
You've heard of it.
He lives in that province.
Yep, that's the name of the show. It's called Corner Gas. It's on Freevee if you stream. So it's like a Canadian Seinfeld, basically.
It's the Canadian
Are you
Seinfeld
fellas-
is exactly what it is.
Are you fellas still warm up there in the frozen north, or is it
Yeah,
cool back
it's
down?
very warm. Very warm here. Yeah, we're just almost 40 F here today. Beautiful sunny day.
See, now I can say all you have to do is just about double that, and you'd have our temperature.
We've had fog and
Oh, I'd
just
love to.
+1, +2 for the last 2 days here.
You say
Well,
plus two,
yesterday it was
meaning
really nice, but it wasn't sunny, so it was kind of not that great. Sorry, Charlie.
no, you were saying it was, you would say what's 5C then, Brad?
2.
Two is
Sorry.
like 30 something.
Well, now 2 is 35 degrees.
Yeah.
And then Ian was talking about it was 8 degrees, like 46 degrees Fahrenheit.
On Wednesday, it was
Wednesday,
+10
it
where
was
I am.
really warm. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
It
Doug,
was
look.
29, I think, in Maple Creek.
You got him.
Ah, you got the second one
You
in?
do.
Yeah, got them both in now,
Got
so
a matching pair.
All right.
we're going to be on our way.
That's cool.
I guess that makes me officially
Can't
out.
wait.
It's going to be fun. Fun times.
I won't be going to Canada, I guess.
I've got plenty
It's
of
not the
hate to
biggest
keep me
show
warm, though.
on Earth, but it's going to be the funnest.
The hijinks
The
will
funnest.
ensue. The most fun, sir.
Funnest.
The,
What kind of language is that?
I don't know. You got plenty of proteges over here that'll back you up, though.
So what's going to be at that honeybee show, Brad? What do you normally do there at your, what is that, a state
Well,
show, I guess you call
It's
it?
2 days. Well, it's our provincial producer board. It's a small group, but we fit in our AGM into the thing, so that takes 2 or 3 hours. But there's a Friday and Saturday of your usual presentations, and actually we usually have some pretty good talent there. Very interesting presentations. So you're
Are you going to have
usual-
Bob talk about
I-
appy tablets?
yeah.
Is that what it is?
We're gonna have Bob speak. Let me
I'm the
click over
backup
here
of
and
the
I'll give
backup.
you a rundown. What's going on here?
I'm the emergency speaker. When someone else backs out, they're just gonna have me go up there and do a 45-minute improvised slot there.
Well, you'll get to witness me emceeing some of the speakers.
Are you gonna sing?
Probably not.
I'd come if you could hear
Probably
you
not.
sing.
You would, eh? Well, maybe I should just take one for the team.
Yeah.
What have we got? Dr. Sarah Wood, University of Saskatchewan. The mysterious case of European foul brood. We have Rod Scarlett, Canadian Honey Council update. We have Corey Stevens is coming in to talk about SMR for mite and disease resistant Harbo VSH versus UBO testing. We have Dr. Rob Curry is our local hero from University of Manitoba, and he's going to be just talking about the lab program of past to present, it says. Robin Underwood, Dr. Robin Underwood from Penn State.
Yeah.
Uses of temperature-controlled storage units. Dr. Steve Purnell from Beaver Lodge AAFC in Alberta will be here. The topic is TBA. Paul Kozak, Provincia Apiarist in Ontario, small hive beetle and European foul brood in Ontario, adapting to changing pest and disease landscape. Dr. Rasul Bahraini of University of Alberta comparative evaluation of novel miticides against Varroa. Holy smokes, we really pack them in. I don't put my glasses on. I can't see the screen very well. Old man thing. So, what else have we got? AFB risk assessment for commercial beekeepers from Elamir Cinco, University of Saskatchewan, a made in Canada test for honey authenticity. Dr. Leonard Foster, University of BC. We have some local updates. Assessing syrup quality by our KRTP, our local tech transfer team lead, they call it, Matthew Polinsky. So KRTP and Greenlight Bioscience is going to present findings from their RNAi trial. That's going to be very exciting to hear what they have to say.
Is that the one that Ian was participating in?
Ian didn't participate in it specifically, I don't think.
I mean, he was something about his hide, their hides and stuff. I think he was.
Yeah, I think he provided the apiary for it. A comparison of 3 honeybee colony management systems, Dr. Robin Underwood. The advantages of Virgin Queens, Corey Stevens. Protein nutrition in honeybees, Dr. Shelley Hoover. Dalen's AFB vaccine using transgenerational immune priming, Amy Floyd. So I believe that's what they call the AFB vaccine for queens. So that'll be interesting. So that's the rundown.
Wonder what Underwood's going to talk about 3 different styles of management systems.
Yeah, it might be interesting.
I might have to find out more about that. That would be a good one for us in our club.
You only have a passport and a plane ticket away, Charlie. You'd know everything that's going on.
You betcha. Tickets still available, man.
All right. How much are they? $5 Canadian?
50? No, wait. I don't know what they are. They're
$250.
$250.
Yeah.
So
if I'm going anywhere, I'm going south.
$2.50 US, $250 Canadian.
It's an awful lot of money for a little show.
Well, that's the thing. It's our producer board. We're a nonprofit, and it's kind of our fundraiser. So that's what happens.
So Todd, are we washing away into the ocean or what?
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying here on our
maybe the ocean might be getting closer to me, but I'm not washing away anywhere. Although I have some friends up in the Bay Area that had 8 inches of rain right around their neighborhood or where they live. But I think for the most part, LA is going to get hammered this weekend. I mean, it's going to really be bad down there, is what they're saying. It's rained quite a bit here, not like last year though. But you never know. I might wake up tomorrow and have beachfront property. I don't know.
Or you might have an earthquake and all of California might just fall into the ocean.
No, actually, if we had an earthquake, the coastal areas would fall in because where I live, I'm in the middle of California, which is an ancient lake bed. That's why the soil here is the best in the world to grow crops. And so since it's an ancient lake bed, there's no real hard stuff beneath us, so there's no fault lines. But they are west of me the San Andreas Fault, I'm sure you guys have heard of. Mm-hmm. That's on the Pacific Coast Range that's due west of me. And then anything past that, west of that would crumble off or at least separate.
Hey, Todd, is that part of the Tulare? Is that what they pronounce it,
Tulare,
Tulare Lake?
Tulare Lake. Yeah, no. Tulare Lake is south of me that just reappeared since the 50s, and that was from last year. They had almost 100,000 acres of land covered by water, and in some places it was 12 feet deep. That's how much water we got last year. Plus, that was all. Well, the reason why it's still down there, and it's about 45 minutes south of me.
Okay.
There was so much snow up in the mountains, the Sierras. All of that runoff added to the lake. It, they built that thing in the 50s. Well, they built aqueducts to move water down into Southern California, and they made a system where they blocked off what is right now Tulare Lake so they could grow crops. Well, all of that water jumped those levees last year, and now it's a big mess. Houses underwater, complete entire farming operations underwater. I mean, it's crazy.
And I heard there's record snows this year again, or a lot.
A lot, not like last year, but this right now the snow line is pretty low. I saw it coming in from work today. It's in the
Okay.
foot. So it's cold outside. It's actually cold. It's not. Well, this what we're getting right now is coming right out of Alaska. We're getting the back end of this. The if you look at a storm when it hits California, it's always counterclockwise. So it's spun up north into Alaska and it dragged down the cold air. And
Gotcha.
LA is going to get hammered by the Pineapple Express, which is basically coming straight out of the west. So it's going to be interesting.
So, I know you always seem to have like mudslides and stuff out there. Is the ground real, like granulated or whatever?
It's the mudslides are basically where there were fires in the last couple of years. It just, when the fires took out the trees, that's what held everything in. And so these mudslides most of them are in Southern California. There's some up north too, but they're just hillsides that are just coming down because nothing's holding the soil back.
So you don't have any vegetation there to hold stuff back, basically.
Yeah.
Gotta tell them how they build out there also, Todd, where they just scrape off a flat place and go up another 50 feet and scrape off another flat
Yeah.
place, and there's nothing in between. They just slide down on top of one another.
Yeah. They, I don't know. The way they build things out here is crazy enough, but when they put homes on, I don't know.
Clothes is dry.
Oh.
When they put homes on top of homes on a hillside, they just pancake. It's crazy.
Brian's getting to change his laundry over now.
Sound like someone was sitting in the electric chair there for a second.
Well, I guess it's still snow up there, Doug. I've seen your videos the last couple of times, and looks like you got about 6 or 8 inches of snow up there.
Yeah, we lost a lot of it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Looks like to me you got a good coon crop. Good.
Yeah.
So, Brian, what's happening?
Not much. Just laying low.
Did you get ready for this Valentine's?
Yeah. Next weekend we have a market, so it's Friday night and Saturday, and it's right here in Belmar, right where we did all the December markets. So we kind of know the routine, but it's time to get started again. So I started making stuff for the market, but yeah, just kind of been resting up a little bit, kind of getting organized and prepared for the season.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Next Sunday, I've got that brunch with Bob Binney and Dr. David Peck.
Cool.
Is that all?
That's it.
Just you three?
Just us three, yep. And probably another 100 people that were invited. I make it sound like it's me, right? Yeah, I'm going to punch
The
with
Bobs.
The Bobs. Yeah, we're just going to hang out. Dr. Peck and the Bobs are going to
The
hang out.
Bobs and Dave. Dave and the Bobs.
But yeah, actually it was a Facebook group that somehow got them to come down for brunch or lunch. They said
Yeah.
it's brunch, but it's noon. But
Now, Westcliff here, I answered him back, and I'm going to go back and everybody needs to answer this. He wants to know what's everybody spending their money on: Apis Biologic, Hive Alive, Alter B, Strong Microbials, Novaset. I'm not sure what that is. Complete B. I've never heard of that either.
It's a
And
nosema treatment. It's a nosema. It's not a treatment. It's another thing
supplement.
that's supposed to. Yeah, it's supposed to help with nosema.
Well, I can tell you right now, I'm an Apis Biologic man, and I know Bob is, and I know Brian is, and I know Todd
Tom
is. And Tom is.
And Brad is.
Yeah.
And Brad and I guess Doug, are you Apis Biologic too?
We've used it last spring and last fall.
How about you, JW? Ever heard of it?
Primarily, I use the Apis products. I don't use anything that I don't feel like I need. To be honest with you, if you don't need it, I don't recommend you use it. That's just a hobbyist viewpoint.
Well,
I think that Strong Microbial is pretty similar to Apis Biologics.
Well, actually, some of their products has Apis Biologics in it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
the probiotics isn't really what Apis Biologics is, though.
Well,
Apis is the nutrients,
yeah,
not the probiotics.
Yeah, a little bit more.
I asked somebody about that.
So this year of this list, I've used Apis Biologics, the Ultra B Plus patties, Strong Microbials, the fondant patty with the Apis in it, and the Appy Tablet. That's 4 things that I've used off of this list. Well, Appy Tablet's not on there, but that was the 4th one.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see, go back. As far as Strong Microbials, I've investigated that, and if you really don't have sick hives, I don't see where it's really necessary as far as any gut bacteria problems or something like that, or especially they also have the product that's good for your bees getting into sprays, let's say, like if you're in pollination and that kind of thing. But in Hive Alive, I don't know. I tried it and I didn't really see anything earth shattering about it at all, to be quite honest with you.
But the most important thing, did your bees look better?
My bee looks great when I put Apis Biologic in. There is a renowned display of major amount of buildup of brood population. And I think I agree with Todd there, where it seems to extend that great look and whatever, or vigor, throughout the season.
Yeah.
And all.
It really does.
I haven't seen any other product on the market that I can visually see. I'm seeing slab after slab of brood in the hive, more brood than what normally it is. And I'll say double the amount of brood and double or triple amount of bees. And it's a product that really is a positive outlook on your bees as far as I'm concerned. And I think Brian's have seen the same thing from Flower Street and everybody who's used it here and all. That's the only product I can say that's definitely, if you're into bees and you want strong super hives and and you want honey production, if you're trying to get big bee populations and stuff like that, that's what to use.
With a lot of these additives or supplements, whatever you want to call them, it's really hard to see an immediate benefit. But with the Apis biologics, that's definitely what I experienced. I fed it to them and I watched them jump. Now, you feed Hive Alive, they're going to eat it. But does that benefit them? Honestly, I don't know. Pollen patties, pollen substitutes, supplements, I think they're helpful at times. Especially, I know Westcliff is here in Colorado. I've used the global patties for the past 3 or 4 years now in the spring because it evens out that pollen availability in the spring when we get like a winter storm and the bees have started brooding up, but they're stuck inside the colony for a couple of days. So for me, that's good food for them. They tend to eat them quite frequently and not leave a lot left over, which I see as some of the negatives of other patty substitutes. But it's honestly, with a lot of these products, it's hard to give it to them and then see a result to go, yup, it works, or no, it doesn't work. So it's really a hard one to answer. I mean, we can talk about our observation and our experiences, and with a lot of these products, the data is pretty sketchy. So oftentimes what you have is anecdotal observations to fall back on, and I
Now,
think they can often be flawed.
here's the question for Bob.
Yep. My science showed me good results. Anecdotically. Anecdotal evidence right there.
Yeah, as far as that, Jason, goes, there is no scientific evidence.
Most of it doesn't. If you look at the supplement market in general or just beekeeping, people use Pro Health. They use Honeybee Healthy. They use Don the Fat Bee Man's concoction of essential oils. They use you name it, Hive Alive. There's no science behind any of it, except for Hive Alive has one paper that was written in 2009, and in the middle of their whole experiment, they actually requeened every one of their colonies. So then, at that point, you could make an argument, if you're playing devil's advocate, well, are the hives doing better because of the supplement, or are they doing better because they have all fresh queens? You don't know. It's one paper, so not a bunch of studies on any of it. So it's just people saying, "Hey, this is what's worked for me. Try it or don't try it." Right? That's kind of how it goes.
I agree with Bruce.
You know what I say? Yeah, exactly. Do your own
trials. Bruce has had it right there. What you should be doing.
And what I say is, believe your own eyes and believe your own ears. Do it yourself. You don't have to have some paper that tells you to use something. I mean, holy cow. If it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, move on to the next one. If you don't want to do that, then sure, go by what studies say. But I mean, experiment. That's the bottom line. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, okay, you tried.
Well, I mean, like right now, the big thing is there's either a Hive Alive fondant or is it what's the one that you used, Bob? The other fondant?
The strong microbials.
Strong microbials. It's fondant, as far as I'm concerned. The bees are going to chew it down because they want food.
It's sugar.
It's sugar. And if it has a little bit of this in it, a little bit of that in it, are you really going to see anything?
Well, that brings up to me one of the biggest fallacies that I hear people say. They give the product to the bees and they must have needed it because they ate it all. Well, that's nonsense because it's made of sugar. They're bees. They're going to eat it if it's sugar.
If they didn't need it, they would remove it.
Yeah.
But it's sugar. You could lace it with arsenic and they'd still eat it because it's sugar.
Right.
They don't know. They don't go, what is in this? They say, it's sugar. Let's eat it. Right.
Right.
So that's there's no correlation between do they want it, do they need it, and how fast they eat it. There's a correlation between how much sugar is in it and whether they eat it or not.
Yep. So, that's
Charlie, earlier on you were talking about putting the patties on. We're a great
Yeah.
believer when you put your patties on, you want to start feeding the liquid too. We always want our hives to figure there's a real good flow coming in, and that triggers them. They start brooding up real good then. But one has to go hand in hand with the other as far as we're concerned.
So you're saying to put patties on and feed them liquid sugar to build them up quick.
You betcha.
Yeah, I've never fed it.
That's how we build up our hives.
Right. I just
What temperature do you start, Doug? What temperature do you start the liquid up there?
Kind of depends on the spring, JW. Sometimes we get going near the end of March. Other times it's early April.
Okay, I understand. While nobody's saying anything, I want to apologize to Brian. I did not respond to your comments directed to me because I don't have my chat.
That's okay.
Please don't be offended because I didn't mean to ignore you.
I'll be back.
Of course not. Of course not. You
I
know,
don't
going
have my
back to
chat hooked up where I can respond.
going back to Westcliffe's comment about the supplements, it's also about the value and what you value. Each one of these has a different cost, and if you perceive that the benefit you get out of that outweighs the cost input, then it's worth it for you. So it might be worth it for some person in their situation, but not another person in another situation. So like the Hive Life, I bought a case of 15 of those just because it was nice to not have to make them. And I got a good deal at the Bee Expo, and I probably wouldn't buy them any other way. But because it was an opportunity, I bought them, and I figured I'd give them a try. And I think that's if you're interested in supplements, you should give them a try, and like other people said, experience and try them for yourselves.
Well, don't you think a lot of younger beekeepers, I won't say, whether big or small, don't study up on this and don't realize that all these so-called patties aren't made of the same material. The fondants is a sugar base, and
Right.
I'm not very good at getting the words out, but the fondant is a sugar base, which is a carbohydrate, and some of your patties are protein based. So
Yeah.
big
If you're giving a
difference. All
global
patties are
patty
alike.
or a ultra bee patty or something like that, that's
Sure.
completely different than a Hive Life patty. You got to know why you're giving them that. I hear people talk all the time. Well, I gave my bees a patty. Well, what in the world does that mean? I hear people talk about, they talk about their mites, and I ask them, well, what did you treat with? Well, I put in strips. Well, what in the world does that mean? You put in strips of what? Strips of newspaper? Well, I don't know what it was, and I'd get after them, of course. You don't know what it was? You're using a pesticide, you don't know what it was? Like, you gotta know what you're using and why.
Well, I just know that I speak with a lot of folks locally around here, and they'll say, they say patties, but they don't say, whether it's a sugar patty or whether it's a protein patty. You don't know
Right.
what they're talking about. They don't either.
It's a dizzying array, and it goes for supplements and treatments and equipment. When someone starts beekeeping, go into a beekeeping supply store, and it's just mesmerizing because probably 2/3 of the stuff in there you don't need. Probably quarter of the stuff doesn't work, whether it's a piece of equipment, a tool, or a supplement, or a treatment even. So it's really difficult for a new person, I think, to really get a handle on, because sometimes you go in a bee supply and you think, well, this is the stuff you need for beekeeping, so I should have one of each, right? Well, we all know that's not true. So it's really hard to kind of figure that out.
And then you go to my local beekeeping supply store, and they don't even know what the hell they're talking about because none of them are beekeepers.
Most of them aren't.
So it's like, you might as well go to Walmart and buy it.
Exactly. And that's, you have to know that as a new beekeeper too, that do not expect to get your bee education at the beekeeping store, because you're not going to get it. It's pretty rare that you're going to talk to somebody across the counter who has even seen inside a beehive.
I would say that's variable from store to store. I definitely can imagine there's stores like that out there, but I'm going through the stores in our area, which there aren't many, and there are good people that work at those stores who are the beekeepers, and that's where I'm sending. In my area, I'm sending the beginning beekeepers there, not because they're getting better deals on the equipment, but because they can talk to those people and get that kind of expertise. So I agree. I'm sure there's ones out there, but there's good ones out there too with experienced beekeepers as well.
My caution to a new beekeeper is the expectation. Don't expect that.
Yeah.
Don't expect to get your bee education at a retailer, because first of all,
they want to sell you stuff too.
They have skin in the game to sell you stuff.
That's right. That's right.
So
you need that slatted rack.
That's right.
Brian, you should have jumped in our little chat last night.
Yeah.
We went down the rabbit hole of rabbit holes.
Big deep rabbit hole.
Big rabbit hole.
We were doing a group review of was it Michael Palmer? No, not
Randy Oliver.
Randy Oliver video. Sorry. It was an hour and 17 minutes. And were like, it was like college, right? We were going through it, listening to what he had to say, and then we'd pause it and say, now what did he just say? Right. Sure. And we divided it up. And then we got an hour and something in, and we were like, holy crap. Now the light bulb went on. Like,
we hardly got halfway into that video.
Yep.
And it was pretty amazing. So we were starting to I was sending out emails to people at midnight trying to get them to come on streams.
Like PhDs.
You need to come to our stream and talk about this, because
looking up all the PhDs, come on our stream.
So we might have.
Do you remember which one it was?
Video?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Probably pull it. Todd's got it on. Todd, you went to go get the information? Or you just blinked out?
No, I'm here. My stupid laptop freezes.
Let me see. I haven't watched that many YouTube videos since then.
It's
it's one of those that's just absolutely full of nuggets, and I think I've seen it before, and I didn't catch.
I had watched it before too
last night. It's one of those you got to watch 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
What time did y'all start that? I kind of looked around for.
Oh, we weren't live. We were just in this room like this with.
We're just
watching the video together like a classroom.
Gotcha.
Here it is.
It was like
SCBMI.
Yeah, SCBMI or something like that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And what was the name of it, Todd?
I can't find it, but
it's from the Sustainable Beekeeping Guild of Michigan, SBGMI.
SBGMI.
So
Randy Oliver's selective queen breeding for mite resistance in the commercial apiary.
Yes, that was the exact one.
Yeah.
And we went way down the rabbit hole with that thing last night.
There's a lot of great videos on that YouTube channel, that SBGMI.
Yes,
they're doing a lot of great stuff.
And SBGMI Media.
Yep. Yep, they've got a winter meeting. It's like February 24th, I think. If you remember, it's like a $30 registration. It's like a whole Zoom thing. It's all day long. Pretty much, and this is, I think, their 3rd year doing that. But great presentations from all like the VSH, all the queen breeder people that are out there. doing stuff on the cutting edge right now. It's pretty exciting.
Well, it was definitely an eye-opening video, but it wasn't at first appearance. That was we've all had watched it independently before, but until we watched it and we sat here and dissected it and mulled over the thought process of what was being said and verbalized it, and we'd say something and someone would be like, "No, I don't know that that's exactly what it was. I think it's more like this," and then the light came on and it made sense. Yeah, it was pretty cool moment. So
you're not going to tell us what the light bulb was?
No. You gotta watch
the light bulb went off. Yeah.
Well, the reason is because if we discuss it all now, if it pans out that the PhD comes on to the stream that we're looking to have, then
and it's not a little tiny thing either. It was something that snowballed over like 45 minutes in discussion between us, and just so many things started to fall into place, and the more stuff that fell into place, the more things that we could hear him saying in his presentation, because he talks about so many different things, and
he goes so fast.
Well, he does go fast because there's a lot of information in there, and you don't really get which pieces of information, like how much weight each piece carries. And sometimes that piece of information that you kind of glaze over, when you really get into it and start to understand it, that one piece is huge, right? But he just pays the same service to it as just about everything else. Absolutely gold. I highly recommend everybody watch that video a couple times and try to get what he's talking about. And I think the overriding gem in that video is his method for raising these colonies that tend to take care of the mites themselves. The key is mite washes. So it's so easy. It's not some complicated method of testing and assessments and all kinds of complex record keeping and things. The key is mite washes. Do your mite washes and use your low mite colonies for your breeders. That's it. Anybody could do it.
Right, but you gotta have some stock of hives to do that on there too.
Well,
yeah, all you need is one.
You need two, because you wash them both, and the one that has the lower mite, you breed from that one, right? You get three, you wash them all, and the one that has the lowest mites, you breed from that one.
Yep,
that's literally
if they make it long enough that you can breed off of them.
Well, that's the first criteria in the video that he says. First of all, they've got to have overwintered, because you can't breed from dead bees.
Yeah, you never breed from dead bees.
Brian, can you put that link in the chat?
Oh, Tom, no, this is not treatment-free beekeeping. This is not let them die or let them prove themselves. This is not what that is. Okay, if they're not tending to their mites, then they need to be treated so that they can survive.
I just linked it, Charlie, for you. Oh, Brian did it too, same time. But so yeah, I mean, it was really eye-opening for me. I mean, there was some stuff like that I had heard because I had listened to the video before, but about the drones and how really it's about 2 years after you breed a queen that is starting to produce drones with the genetics that you have originally grafted for, right? So that kind of stuff just all kind of tied into the whole system. And he's like, well, we requeen our hives every year using this method. And he said he'll come out and have zeros and ones. Well, that's his grafting queens. It's not anything else. It's let the bees be bees, and you're basically doing survival of the fittest, but we don't know which one the fittest are, right? The only way we know that is if you're breeding for mite resistance. Well, you got to breed for your mite resistantest, I guess, or your most mite resistant bees.
Yeah.
To achieve that. So
Was that the one where he had that 1 yard? It was all by themselves that he didn't treat them, but they were really low mite counts all the time. Or he seemed to be working towards that for the last 5 years or so. Randy was.
Well, in this video, this one was, I don't know how old it was that it was recorded, but the video came out 4 months ago on this SB GMI. But it was just pretty interesting that he requeens them every year over and over and over again from the stock with the lowest mites.
Yeah, he's been doing this for many years.
Yep. And then he says he treats the ones that need treated, and the ones that are taking care of themselves, because he's mite checking so often, then he can determine if he needs to treat them or something's going wrong or whatever. But it was just it was a long way to say might check your colonies often, because it's $1.50 to, and he did his math based on the number of people that he had working for him and everything. But he said it was roughly $1.50 per colony cost to him to treat it, which is cheap. Well, I mean, to mite check it, which is cheaper than treating that colony. So he would mite check them often and treat if needed. So it was just
that's a
pretty
piece of YouTube gold right there.
He was some of those tests he was doing. He was checking every other week, every 2 weeks. So those aren't your production hives. Those are test hives. That's the difference. I can't go into my hives and kill 300 bees every other week. I won't get
well,
any
you're
honey.
not going to do it every other week, but I'm not drafting every week either.
If you look at his study, he was checking every 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I don't know that that's what this was.
At least in the beginning years, he was.
He said he had been doing this process for 6 years.
6 years, yeah.
He was showing tabs. Yeah. He keeps a thing on his colony that says the date, what it shook every time he tested it. And I think he was doing it about once a month, right?
Once a month, yeah. Yeah, it was once a month, because the date was just a month.
Yeah, at the beginning, he was doing it twice a month.
And it just was very interesting that he has colonies that he shook one that had a 7 and then came back the next month and tested it again, and it was like 1. Yeah, it was like they just, and without being treated, they just took care of it themselves.
Yeah, he said that they actually do that once if the mites start to grow, then the colony just kind of hunkers down and ties into them and gets the best of the mites again.
Hey, Tom, Melissa.
Pretty amazing.
So, I mean, it was very eye-opening.
It's a method that anybody can do. It doesn't matter if you have 1 or 1,000. You can do, all you do is watch your mites. That's as hard as it is.
It's just mind-blowing because it's been there the whole time.
Yeah.
We're talking about Randy Oliver's video, Roy.
Well, the thing is, I mean, if you look at it, and I'm not saying, well, I have said, but I'm not saying it tonight, that anybody's right or wrong in that situation, with the testing methods and all that, or whatever you want to do, that your bees do them that way, right? But when you start talking about using liquid nitrogen and freezing brood and stuff like that, some people are capable of doing that. A lot of people are not capable of doing that. And when you're doing backyard beekeeping, which I would say the majority of our people are sideliners or maybe backyard hobbyists, something like that, that's fine. But I don't see somebody with 4 colonies getting a test kit to use liquid nitrogen on their bees
Yeah.
or being diligent enough to go check it as often as they need to see what's happening. So using this simple system, if it helps out, that would be my go-to to tell somebody to do, hey, test them. Which one's lowest? That's your breeder.
So the big difference to me, I don't know if I try to explain this, what I'm thinking, but it's hard, is that we hear about selection all the time, and selection criteria, and we select this and we select that. Right at the beginning of his video, he talks about selecting for a trait or selecting against a trait. And what we normally see done is we see a trait, a queen breeding done selecting for a certain trait. And this doesn't have to have anything to do with mites. This could just be for honey production or gentle nature or whatever, right? There's all kinds of traits you can select for. So what it is it's when you select for, I'm going to use VSH because this is very closely connected. You select for VSH, you are at the onset making the assumption that VSH is the answer to the varroa mite honeybee problem. Okay, you've made that decision. So this is the answer, and this is what I'm selecting for. Whereas Randy in this system that he's using, he's not selecting for anything. He's selecting against heavy mite loads, right? So the ones that have heavy mite loads don't get to be breeders. And so you can say, well, there's no difference, right? Yes, there is, because he's not selecting for a trait. He's just selecting for the fact that they don't have a heavy mite load. He's not making an initial decision or assumption as to how the bees are going to do this, right? He's just looking at the colony and saying, are you doing it? And they say yes. And then he says, okay, we'll use you as a breeder. He looks at this other colony and says, are you succeeding in keeping the mites down? And they say, no, we're not. And you say, okay, we'll give you a treatment to let you survive, but we're not going to use you as a breeder. So he's selecting against colonies that have mites. He's not selecting for anything specific at all because he hasn't decided what the method of mite control is at the beginning. Whereas someone breeding for VSH, and I'm not saying that that's wrong, right? It's a different way to approach it. Somebody says VSH is the answer, therefore I'm going to select for a VSH trait, and that's how my bees are going to beat mites, and it's effective. It does work. But, it's just two different approaches to say the bees can do it however they decide to do it. All we're going to do is select against the bees that don't do that. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Clear as mud to me.
We're leaving it up to the bees, right? We're leaving it up to the bees. We're not saying that we know the answer.
Right.
You know what's so funny about all this, Todd? There
What's that?
isn't nobody anywhere in the whole world that's looking at mites and their traits. Well, there's not very many.
There is
with
one
relations to honeybees.
What's that,
Say
Todd?
that again.
There aren't many people, I only know a couple, that are looking at mites and what traits they have or don't have that can be beneficial or not beneficial to a honeybee.
Dr. Ramsey talked about this at ABF a little bit in his keynote speaker
Yes,
talk.
there's a little bit just lately.
Yeah, so he's studying it, and it's called kleptocytosis, where the varroa mite creates an egg that's disproportionately large compared to its body. Like the egg is like 1/3 of the size of the Foundress's mite's body.
Right.
And he discovered this process of how it's doing it. It's basically processing protein in a different way, that it's not breaking it down and it's transferring it right to that egg. So he's investigating that process to see if there's a way to disrupt that process. If you can disrupt that reproduction, obviously you're going to disrupt the mite population. So there are people looking into it, Tom. There are some.
Well, I
And
know there is. That's what I said. But there aren't, and it's just happened in the last couple of years.
That's right. Yep.
and
And this
and
has
I
been
learned
going on for quite a long time.
it,
What's
and
that, Todd?
I learned today that there are at least 6 different mites. Apis
Yeah.
melliferae was never. The theory is that it was basically strictly European, and that all the other mites, the 6 different types of mites, are from Southeast Asia. So Apis ceranae has developed a method where the mites don't bother them anymore through years and years of them dealing with it. So keep in mind that Apis mellifera does not have that advantage. They have to learn it. They since the mite was not indigenous to that species, they have to learn it on their own. So they're a little behind the curve as far as speed, getting to the point where ceranae has gotten to now. And I was looking, so going back real quick to something that the 3 of us were talking about last night. There's a guest that we want to get one of these days, and I'll just give you this sentence which blew my mind. It's out of one of his studies. It says the relationship between the mating number and a colony's genetic diversity is not linear, so that over 90% of the increase in the colony's diversity potential is achieved by its mother's, or the queen, the virgin that goes out and mates, by its mother's 10th mating. So we think that, you know what, we want to pick that trait or that genetic. It's not really up to us, it's up to the bees, like what Brad was saying. And it's been proven through a study that and I'm the one about studies, right? So it's been proven that after the 10th mating on that virgin flight, that's kind of the peak of where you're going to get your diversity. It's a really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
BC
Yeah.
Behaviors
I
had
remember
a
reading
video,
that one, Todd.
Go ahead,
had a
Doug.
video last week I was watching, and they were talking about the lady is from Central State University in Ohio, and she brought the Asian honeybee to the university, and they have a mite resistant breeding program there. She was quite interesting. She had video showing the difference between some of the bees. Some of the bees would bite the mite, others would groom, and you want the biters, you don't want the groomers. And her program, they'd gone so far as doing 3Ds of the mandible on different bees. And the one group with this smaller mandible was biting more mites, and that's the one they were breeding. She got into some pretty deep stuff, but it was quite interesting. And I think it's on that Central State University. I think the video is on there if you want to go look at it.
Yeah, this is crazy, crazy stuff we stumbled upon last night.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll be the first one to say it. That line of thinking in the video from yesterday kind of falls with my thought process, where I keep using the breeding for red hair, right? If you've watched and we've talked about VSH and stuff, I've always used that we're trying to pick queens that have red hair, and then we're trying to breed only queens that have red hair, instead of, hey, why are we picking the red hair? Well, we're picking it because it's got less mites, right? So the colony has less mites. So let's pick from the colonies that have less mites and not breed for red hair. let's just try to breed for less mites. So that's that just falls into my scientific training and lessons that I've learned, right? Which is why I've kind of, whenever someone brings up VSH and you guys hear me get on my soapbox, that I kind of have an issue. It's not that it's right or wrong. It's just way I was trained and, things I've learned.
Yeah.
So it's just
stop trying to decide for the bees how they're going to solve this problem.
Right.
Let the bees do it.
Nature loves diversity.
Nature loves
That's
diversity.
what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just interesting. So hopefully it didn't blow everybody's mind in the chats, and now they've left and went to watch Randy Oliver's video there. But hopefully they will watch it. And this is what Charlie likes. He likes these in-depth, hard-hitting topics, right? You notice how quiet he got when we started talking about this, and he sat back and just was soaking it in to his famous persona from Nobby. He was just soaking that in.
No, he was eating popcorn.
It was neither that or it was popcorn.
Eating pretzels.
Oh,
I don't even think it was popcorn.
Well played, Doug.
Yeah, I've got to check out here for a minute. Charlie's making me hungry eating in front of us.
Yeah, I'm checking out too. It's getting close to 11 o'clock.
All right. We'll see you,
All
JD.
See you guys later.
Yeah, I'm heading off too,
Get the
guys.
carrots
Good
all
time.
before bed tonight, Tom.
Hey, everybody have a good weekend.
Good night.
See you later.
Night.
See you.
sugar strike is over, Brad.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
All right. We'll have to watch prices. The prices are crazy. I was at Costco a couple days ago. A 10 kg bag was $15 and a 20 kg bag was $34. Like, do the math.
Yeah, something's not adding up.
Change.
That's not double for some reason.
Well, no, we buy the 10 kg.
Yeah.
It's twice as many bags to open, that's all.
Easier to handle.
Yeah.
Maybe they ran out of big bags and they're pointing you to the smaller ones.
Yeah, exactly. So my hope then is that the prices go back down because they were already high. I just can't stomach $34 sugar.
Yeah, bad here too.
Let me ask you a question about sugar. You guys up in the north, up there in that beet country, do you use beet sugar, or is everybody stick with the cane sugar?
Explain that, Brad. You're the expert on that.
Oh, here we go.
There we go.
There you go.
Everybody sit back and relax.
There's always that one guy.
I prefer beet sugar because it's more natural. It's derived like nectar instead of not like nectar.
What
There's
was
not
it?
very much beet sugar produced in Canada, but there is some. Most of it's cane sugar, but there's one beet plant in Alberta that produces sugar. So the sugar that the bees don't get, the bees don't care. Makes no difference to the bees at all.
Well, there's a lot of beets in is there not a lot of beets in the Dakotas and northern Minnesota and that areas?
I don't know. It's not my country.
Yeah.
I know there was a big sugar plant north of Grand Forks. I think it was a beet plant, but I'm not sure what it's all about.
But the main thing of it is, Brad, is the fact that the sugar that is processed out of those beets is more closer to nectar, natural nectar, than it is white sugar.
The sugar, there is a difference, and this is why I believe there's a difference. When the import authorities test honey coming in from other countries, they can test it for foreign sugars, and they can tell the difference between. So I'm going off memory now, and that's not a very safe thing to do. They can tell the difference between a C3 and a C4 sugar in the honey, and they can tell you what it is and how much is there. So that leads me to believe that there is a difference, and they can see the difference. Whether that makes a difference to the bees or not, I don't believe it does. But the difference between those C3 and C4 sugars are the way the plant produces the sugar. And I believe beet produces a C3 sugar and a cane produces a C4 sugar, I believe. I may have that backwards, but the point being that the beet produces sugar in the same way that the flowers produce sugar for nectar for the bees. So I don't believe there's a difference, and I want to emphasize that. I am not saying there's a difference. Some people say there is a difference. So if there is a difference, then you really should prefer beet sugar because it's the kind of sugar that flowers produce. Cane sugar is not. So if you have a preference one way or the other, you should probably use beet sugar. That's
You're saying in farmer talk, then the beet sugar is better for the bees than what the cane sugar is, according to what you've.
and I think I emphasize that. I don't think there's a difference. Personally, I don't think there's a difference. But
I got a chance to buy some cheap sugar, and
there's
it's
a
not
whole
marked.
narrative out there that talks about cane sugar being better usually, and I don't think there's a difference. But if there is a difference from the science, I would say the beet sugar is better because it's closer to what the flowers produce than is the cane sugar. So the argument is poppycock, in my opinion, because I don't think there's a difference. There isn't a difference. It's sugar. Feed your bees. Stop worrying about it and feed the bees. So you found a deal on some unmarked sugar.
Yeah, it's come from it's bag sugar, but I can buy it by the pallet pretty cheap. But I looked through it, and it doesn't say anywhere on the bag. You'd think in the States it'd have to be marked. There's, what was derived from, but they're not. They're absolutely not marked.
Oh yeah,
And
the
it's
ones we
from
buy in Canada,
subsidiary.
the ones we buy in Canada aren't marked, whether they're beet or cane. There's a code that you could tell which plant it came from, and so you could, if you can just look up the code on their website and they'll tell you. But it's not marked.
Okay.
At one time, Manitoba had sugar beets, didn't they, Brad?
Yeah, there was a big sugar beet plant in Winnipeg, but it shut down quite some time ago.
Because that sugar was always marked Manitoba on the bag, if I remember right.
Yeah, that was I think that was a kind of a standalone company, wasn't it? Manitoba Sugar Company or something. Yeah, I remember I lived in that part of Winnipeg at the time, and every fall you could just smell it. You could smell that plant.
Yeah.
Cooking the beets.
You can smell those sugarcane plants in the south for miles also.
Is it bad smelling or what?
They burn it. They burn the fields, and it stinks to high heavens.
Well, the distilleries or the refineries, whatever you want to call them, they stink too, Bob. I mean,
yeah, the beets I didn't think they smelled bad because I kind of knew what it was.
Well, I ain't saying that.
People
when I say stink, I mean they put out an aroma. I'm not saying it's a stinking aroma.
Well, I mean, like I say, being a farmer, I knew what it was. It just smells like you're cooking a pot of beets.
Yeah,
in the kitchen is what it smells like. But you don't generally, like when you cook beets in the kitchen, it's generally not sugar beet, and so you can it's much sweeter smelling than what you'd smell cooking beets in the kitchen. But to me, that's what it smelled like, and like pretty strong.
Well, based on that information and your instructions, if I kill all my bees, I'm buying this sugar. So if I kill all my bees, well, I expect retribution from you, sir.
Here's my preference for sugar, and I prefer to buy sugar in a bag at the store and mix it, and this is why. because the bag I'm buying in the store is produced and packaged for human consumption. So it's highly controlled, right? And if I buy a tank of syrup from somebody and it's it's just going for bees, it's not for human consumption. So there's a quality control aspect there, plus the fact that I trust Dr. Curry's research, and Dr. Curry simply says sucrose is king.
Yeah.
So that's my preference for buying sugar in a bag.
Well,
it's like I had a guy come in today, and I seen his hat, and he had a West Virginia honey producer icon. And anyway, his mother also has hives down here close to me. But we were talking beekeeping and all that. And of course, his mother was telling him, "Oh no, we don't want to feed no sugar to her bees. She keeps a super honey on there, And I'm like, I didn't go down that rabbit hole for the fact that there's ash in honey versus sugar is actually clean of ash, which actually for gut health is better for the bees.
Yeah,
and it's been scientifically proven. But
right.
To me, I mean, she's leaving money on the table, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I leave money on the table, and like you say, and that's what I was referring to with Dr. Curry's research, and he definitively showed that, particularly in our part of the world, different parts of the world might be different, but in our part of the world, there is no comparison between wintering on honey and wintering on sugar. Sucrose is king by far.
Especially if you have canola honey.
Oh, well, canola honey, you might as well winter them on cement. It'd be just as easy for them to eat.
So, Charlie, did you watch that video with Joey Rawls's hive lifter?
Did I watch the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I watched part of it. I didn't get to watch it all.
I watched that today.
Did it change your mind? Did it solidify your decision on the one you bought? What do you think?
I'm glad I bought the one I did.
Yeah.
I mean, the B3. Like he had a. Did you watch the other one? He was moving or going to lift highs and rotate the supers. And remember, did you ever see him where he is putting his foot down on something in behind the hive, which I think it was more like a piece of chloroplast?
Yeah.
He couldn't get up close enough to the hive in order for them arms to go over and to grab the handles because of that piece and being in the way. And so I'm thinking to myself, I don't have that problem, but there's having a machine that's more like a front end loader on a tractor where it reaches out to grab it. You can get, it's better that way.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I think I went the right direction.
Cool. When do you get it?
I don't know. I guess 3 to 4 weeks at least.
Okay.
Now Bob's going to check on for me while he's up in Canada. It might be, it's like a lot of farm shows that I go to, they have these tractors and stuff on display, and it has a big sign up there that says, bought by such and such a farm, and it'll have probably Boris will be there and have this big hive lifter bought by Sawmill Charlie's Bee Farm,
Bob, are you going to be our roving reporter on location?
Yeah, might do some streams from up there.
Yeah, you got to keep us in tune with what's going on.
Do it from the phone. Look, I'm getting off the plane. It's cold as shit out here.
My battery just went dead because it just froze.
It just died that quick. The battery just froze.
Look, I can't get my arm down again. It's frozen.
Yeah.
Well, I know one thing that is going to happen. There will be a Cheesy's taste test.
Yes.
There will be a Cheesy's taste test. So.
Cheesy's versus
Cheetos.
non-spicy Cheetos.
Yeah.
And when is the trip?
I'm leaving on the 22nd.
Okay.
From here, so
last week of February.
Yep. And next Sunday is that brunch, so it's gonna be a busy month. And then somewhere in there, my bees are gonna figure they want to swarm, probably right before I come back. That's probably when it's gonna happen. The day before, I'll come back and it'll look like Christmas. Bees from all the trees.
Have you done a post-mortem at all, Brad?
They're in there too tight. I can't look at anything. I was looking around today, and I could just look between them. I could see some clusters poking out the front. So there's bees in there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Or did
reminds
you mean the rat?
Yeah. Did you do one on the rat? Did you do a post-mortem on the rat?
I heck the rat out the back.
He died from a blunt force trauma to the neck.
Sorry, Charlie. I cut you off there.
That's all right. Doug, I was watching your video and you opened up that hive, and they were flying pretty good for you. Was that styrofoam insulation? Then you put some kind of a board on top of it for your lid?
I have a plywood lid, migratory lid on top, and then I put the styrofoam on top of it.
On top of the lid or underneath the lid?
No, on top of the lid. I want to be able to use that wooden lid. I can use oxalic acid anytime I want, and it doesn't melt the styrofoam hive because that's a wooden lid with a wooden or a hole in the top entrance there.
No, I think the one I was saw was the last video where it looked like to me that it was a wooden hive, but you had like a 2-inch piece of styrofoam to keep the top warm on that hive.
That's a styrofoam hive.
Okay.
Yeah. And I looked at a single and it was alive, and I looked at a double and it was alive. And there was lots of
they were styrofoam hives.
Yeah.
So then when we were, you were here, I think you were in here. When you're using your vaporizer, how did you put it down through the top of the hive then?
Yeah, we always do the top.
So you got a hole in the top of your hive or what?
Yeah, my migratory lid has an upper entrance in it.
Okay.
That plywood lid has a 3/8 shim all the way around it. So I have my upper entrance in that shim.
Okay. And then, all right. You'll have to show that.
I've been treating with oxalic acid this week, Doug, and I did learn something from your comments of a week or two ago. That oxalic acid, when it condenses, it does settle. So you're better off to have your input at the top than you are like at the bottom with these, where a lot of people's using oxalic acid and putting it in, the entrance to the hive. I think that's probably the wrong thing to do, don't y'all?
Yeah, I've seen tests that support that. It's not like steam. It's not steam that goes up. It's actually more of a crystalline vapor that has weight, and it actually will go down.
So I've been plugging my lower hose and drilling holes at the top of my boxes, all because of you, Mr. Longman. Thank you.
And we use 6 grams in a treatment too, a fairly heavy dose.
That's what I use.
Yeah.
You're all going to jail.
Every last one of you.
I did notice though last year when I got the vaporizer, I did have a couple hives that still had the screen bottoms. It was fall time and I didn't have anything under them, and that stuff just drops like lead.
Yeah.
You know, I learned that real quick.
Yeah.
So I do believe what Doug is doing, and I've still been doing the bottom entrance and that, but there is a lot of logic to actually using the top entrance or a hole in the top to
It
vaporize
does percolate pretty good because it creates a lot of draft in there and puts a lot of product in there. So it's got to go somewhere. But typically, Lori Miller did a video a while back where she had a double and she put I think it was just something she made. It had no bees in it, but she had comb and it had a plexiglass front. And so she stuck a vaporizer in the back of it. I don't know. I think it was probably 2/3 of the way up. It's probably halfway up the top deep and filled it with vapor. And sure enough, that stuff just went straight down. Went straight down to the bottom.
You know, that you bring up something there, Brad, would make a hell of a video, but it'd be a pain in the ass to build it if you had a plexiglass hive set up and you put your full 20 frames or 10 frames in there and you actually vaporize it to get a visual to see exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives some thought to it. I mean, if I had more time, I would think about trying it.
Sure.
Because it'd be a nice video, really. But and when you watch what Ian was doing 2 weeks ago or last week with the bag, trying to see how much loss there is,
right?
You know, brought up some facts and makes you think about it. I mean, when you guys are saying 6, should we not saying this is what any of us would ever do, be using 8 or 10 because you're losing a percentage of it, you know? So it makes you think a little bit about where the loss might be, you know? How much are you actually using each dose?
I don't go as high as 6, but I do overdose it a bit because I'm too lazy to close the entrance. You know, so I'm losing a gram out of the entrance every time.
I agree with you there. I do the same thing. I can't say I don't.
So
yeah, our bottom entrances are reduced, maybe 3/8 of an inch to a half inch, so we'll lose some out of there. But I've gone back and pulled the cover off 15-20 minutes after, and it's still just a cloud hanging in there.
Wow. Yeah.
I've done it, but not that long.
My entrance isn't a big entrance. At that point, it's a 3-inch entrance.
Okay.
When I'm treating, but you know, it's a pretty big hole still.
If you have a humid day, that's when it really hangs in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I reduce all mine down in the wintertime to 3/8 by about 5/8.
Yeah. But you'll find any hives that have leaks anyway, too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, what got me convinced was all my boxes are pretty tight. And I run about all double 8-frame deeps. And first place the vapor comes out, you notice, is at the entrances, you know, where the bees go in and out. So that's first place. And if you do have a crack further up, why it'll come out later up there, but it always comes up the entrances first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my first 2 years, I had lots of cracks because I was building my own boxes and I sucked at it. So I'm now cutting a lot of them into shims and stuff like that, which is fine, but not like Brad where he's out there in the wood shop and he's making doors for his dog or cat to get in and out of the house and everything. They look so good and everything. I'm like, okay, I can't do that.
Yeah, building furniture for my bees.
Yeah.
I can't help it.
Even build stuff to bury you in.
Steven build a box to put you in. Yeah. Yeah. We finally brought father-in-law home. Sat him on his piano in the living room, and my wife says, "There, you can play the piano." And I said, if I hear piano music tonight, he's going back to the garage.
Yeah.
Boy, a lot of silence.
I was actually sitting there thinking, how long is it going to stay silent before somebody
That's what I was wondering too.
See, it's Charlie's stream, so he's supposed to be the one to pop in there and say, "Oh, guys, what about this?"
Well, I think he's got a date going or something. He's
no, everybody's giving me, talking to me and everything. But
VIA honeybees, is that Tom and Melissa?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, they can come on if they would like.
Well,
Always good conversation with those guys.
That big outing they've got this next week there in St. Louis. I'm going to go out to it, but it's they're probably trying to get ready for it. Maybe.
Now, that's what, 6 hours you say west of you, JW?
Oh no, that's only 3 hours at the absolute most. I can usually get there in less than that if there's not much traffic.
Did you guys catch that? Tom is in the hot tub watching. Melissa's in the house watching us. So he's not coming on. He's relaxing and enjoying the hot tub.
You're in the hot tub. We prefer you not.
I hope yeah, please.
Stay right there.
Try to make something interesting. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Just keep his head out of the water. That's all you got to do.
You know, they're putting a really fun event on over there in St. Louis. It's really cool to see all the energy that they're putting forth. Just a little beekeeping business by those two folks there. They're really making a pretty big impact on that community. I think the biggest problem they have is they've got this landscaping business that's getting in the way of all their beekeeping aspirations, right? They need to push that landscaping business onto their kids who are old enough to take that on, right? And dedicate the rest of their times to that passion that they clearly have for bees that we all see because we have it too. So
yeah,
well,
it's exciting to see those hobbyists and what they're doing over there.
Did you see the latest video from what's the guy, Missouri, with the queen breeder, Corey Stevens?
Corey Stevens.
Did you see his recent video, 3-minute video or 2-minute video?
Oh, he put in his notice today. Yeah.
Hey, there she is.
I'll save you guys all the time in the hot tub.
Thank you.
So yeah, we're going to be pretty busy here this week coming up. We've got a lot of stuff going on.
Well, have fun.
Congratulations! It looks like you're hitting it out of the park.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to put it all together, but once people start showing up, then you just got to have fun because it's going to be what it's going to be.
It's sold out by now, isn't it, Melissa?
It is. We ended up with only, I think, 1 remaining ticket in the beginners session and like 14 remaining tickets in the experience session. So I think altogether there were 280 tickets available. So out of 280, we had like 15 not purchased. So I think we did pretty good. Luckily, so the NBA has been around for a long time, since like 1939. And they'd actually done this conference every year until COVID came around. So luckily, we have some experienced workshop people in the club that have already put this together, that have experience doing this. So they just, it was a lot after a couple of years to get it going again. So
Tom still has his phone.
I know. He's out there.
Well,
it's like I stay home. Well, I'm subbing right now, but I stay home for the most part. Like this has been a full-time job for me, Tom, everybody on the board pretty much. Sure. So it's been crazy.
Yeah, but from what you were telling us earlier on here, I think I guess it was last Friday when you were on the show. is that you brought in a whole new awakening of this club. Number one, you were rejected the fact that why don't you look at YouTube, and they rejected
yeah.
you on that idea.
Well,
And
it
then
was
you brought
funny.
in Dr. David Peck live somehow. And there's like, well, where did you find him at? And it's like YouTube. And now their eyes have started to open up to
Right.
there's a new world out there beyond local
Mhm.
or whatever. And then I seen it here recently. It was on one of my Facebook. Maybe it was one of where I'm on your Facebook, but somebody posted about going to Nobby
Yeah.
or something, you know, like it was like they missed it and they want to go next year and when the tickets are, and they have obviously they have no clue of what they missed. From
So
what
it
I
was kind of funny because we have just joined the board of the EMBA this last year in 2023. And we were asked to actually sit in on board meetings because they were kind of reorganizing after COVID. And then both of us got elected to positions or whatever. But like Charlie was saying, none of them watched YouTube. And when we said something about like YouTube, they're like, oh no, you can't find credible information on YouTube. That's a bunch of, whatever. It's like, well, you just have to know who to watch. Like that's the important thing. Figure out who is giving good information and whatnot. And we met Dr. Peck at the second Hive Live. Just casual, like, hey, we really enjoyed your talk or whatever. And we did. We thought he was phenomenal. And so when we said, hey, we'd like to contact him and bring him in, like, basically they were like, okay, go ahead, we'll let you. And when we were able to get him to come in person, because, that's always better than Zoom or whatnot, immediately after the meeting, we had people coming up to us, going up to Dr. Peck, like, that was amazing. That was the best talk we've ever seen, yada, yada, yada. And then after that, they're like, okay, maybe there's something to this YouTube thing, people you see on YouTube and whatnot.
Well, did they know anything about Hive Life or anything of that
No,
nature?
they knew nothing about any of it. And then I think there was like, I don't know, at
Didn't you
least
have
half
a group
a dozen of them ended up going to Nabi this year.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Didn't you have a group going with you?
Yeah, there was 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there was at least a half a dozen of us that they ended up coming to Nabi, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, we can't wait to go back next year. Like, we've been telling you this.
Yeah.
So,
we face the same thing in our state, Melissa, where some people know about the YouTube movement and other people have no idea. Our state delegates that went to ABF, I was trying to describe the trade show that was there this year because I was able to go to Louisville and then down to New Orleans. I was able to go to both of them. And I was like, this trade show is a waste of your time. Don't even bother. And they're like, no, it's awesome. Look at all these vendors. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. And they just don't get it. They don't get that
right.
There is a lot of great information out there.
Well, and Tom and I tried to explain to him, like, well, we.
You froze.
It looks like Bruce's bees already had a swarm this year by his latest post 5 hours ago. It's got a swarm in a tree and it says, well, darn it, looks like I'm behind already. So if you're near Bruce, you might want to watch your colonies pretty close.
I hope Cayman's events don't get too big, though, because, part of that magic he has is that family atmosphere. And if it gets too big, it's gonna lose that. Like there was a lot of people this year, and some people that I knew were there. Like I didn't see Darren, the Pennsylvania beekeeper, there the entire time, and I knew he was there, and I didn't see him there once. So hopefully it doesn't get too big that it loses that cool family feel that it has. I kind of wish too that they would have the honey show like somewhere out in the lobby, somewhere somewhere more visible than that closed off room that they had. And I know it's got to be closed off while they're doing all the testing and everything, but they can easily rope that off like they did at Sevierville last year. But it was so in this isolated room by itself. It felt like it wasn't a part of the whole event. So I think that would be something that I'd like to see different next year too.
Well, that's like I went down there to the trade show and I tried to make a purpose of. Here we go. You're back. You're back.
You
can't
can't hear you now.
Turn off your YouTube. Your back feeding. No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
You know, there's one thing about the whole, even last year when it was Hive of Life, and that it's almost, if you're a new beekeeper, you should be sent there for the first time with a warning symbol on you.
Don't bring any credit cards.
Don't try and take in too much information because you can get overwhelmed in a second. And I couldn't imagine this year because it was twice the size, the way it looked and everything. And I could not imagine the amount of information that was there. And if you didn't have a direction, you know, I did it the first 2 years that I was beekeeping. You're like a ping pong ball. Oh, I want to try this and this one, you know, and everything else. And you're bouncing all over the place trying stuff. And I could see it being overwhelming for somebody who was in their first or second year walking into that place. You could just get hammered. And like Bob said, you better leave your credit card in the truck or something because you could go broke in a second. You know,
or have priorities, have a shopping list, you know.
Yeah.
But you always see that shiny bauble over there, right? And you're like, ooh, this automatic bottling machine. I need one of those that I've used one time in 2 years. You know, $1,500 sitting on the kitchen table. Well, it was $1,500 when I bought it.
Yeah.
So, but that's it's always something.
But I could see you dropping a bunch of money in a second, honestly.
But you know that trade show was. I made a point to try to go to every vendor table, and I still miss. I watched pictures. I'm like, I'm sure I seen the vendor, but I just kind of walked by, type of thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't stop.
Yeah, but Charlie, in your defense, even last year there was quite a few of them that, for the most part, they were apparel or knickknacks. Not all of them, but there was a handful of them. So
well, you had to. Oh, sorry, guys. She's going to try to get it restored. Yeah, James just brought a clarifier in today. Did he buy one? He bought one. I thought he probably was going to make one.
Yeah, I would have too.
You know, sometimes if you get a deal, you get a deal.
So James, come on in. But I don't know. I missed a few things down there. I guess there was a lot of it where you had multiple vendors and there were multiple, I'll say, woodenware vendors. Well, woodenware is woodenware. And, you know, I don't know. Maybe I need to slow down and take it all in, I guess. I don't know. It's like Ricky had the guy Wilkes that had the computer software, you know, for the hives and stuff. And I recognized that's who it was because I had investigated that a while back, which I just, you know, it's like, I really don't need this type of thing. So.
Yeah, I saw when he had that guy on, and it's interesting. It's something for me to think about, to be honest with you. You know, when you start getting above that 50 hives and that, and you tracking everything and following it gets a little tough. So it might be a good idea, but I would have to investigate it a little more. So
what'd you do, Doug? You got 300 hives. How do you track it? Or do you even track it?
Not really. Pretty hard to when you start getting quite a few.
Right.
I mean, right now I'm doing lid top, permanent
That's-
Sharpie on lid top, shorthand, following it and that.
That's what I do. I put tape on there. Some people say to put the what is it, the blue tape, you use for painting.
Yeah.
And then some other folks, I've been using the medical tape and that kind of a thing. And
when we go through in the spring, first thing, we'll use bricks. The bricks that are on the hives, standing up on this side, that side means one thing. But once we start getting honey supers on, we've got 3 to 5 honey supers on. There's nothing you can't keep up to it then.
and let's make sure that that's 3 to 5 deep honey supers on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Deep, not mediums.
No.
Now you got skyscrapers. I'm wondering, how do you keep them from blowing over?
They're heavy. Just the weight.
The weight and the propolis.
Yeah, we'll pull those, and then once we extract them, we'll put another 2 on, usually to finish up.
Yeah, bee honey hives, they use a marker too.
Yeah. The only problem I have with the markers, boy, you get a couple of weeks of heavy rain and it kind of fades a little bit. And you get out there and you start looking, it's like, what the hell did I just write there? And you're abbreviating a little bit and that, and you got sloppy because you were in a rush or something, and you really have to decipher it a little bit. But once you open the hive, all right, now I realize what I had there, So, and Brad Hogg just said paint pens. Yeah, the problem with that, Brad, is I can never keep my hands on a freaking paint pen, and I lose them all over the place. At least the Sharpies, I have a ton of them laying around, so it's not a big deal. But the paint pens would probably be a much better offer, to be honest with you. So,
yeah. Well,
paint pens. I meant not paint pens as in what you mark your queens with. Paint sticks. It's a looks like a big wax crayon, but it's a solid stick of paint. And
you mean like a metalworker one?
No, that's soapstone.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
The brand, I don't know, Charlie, if anybody
it's Markle.
Anybody else really makes them, but Markle, Markal, is
a
the
lumber
brand.
crayon.
Lumber crayon is a little different. They can work as well, but I don't know if they're so much a paint stick. This Markle paint stick, man, you can write on a wet surface with that thing. It's pretty incredible. It lasts a long time. It'll last a season. Often I'm scraping off last year's marks so I can renew them this year. I'm a big fan. I use it whatever you want, but I'm just saying.
What you have to do? Yeah. Have to get him out of the hot tub.
No, I had to get the teenager to come help me out. We had to do it. Oh, hold on. I got this on still. Sorry.
So, where were we at? You had you got everybody to go to Nobby, and now they're opening their eyes up.
Yeah, they were excited about it. They had a good time. Oh, I remember what I was saying. I don't think a lot of them. Oh, it was about with COVID, the workshops all kind of stopped. Club meetings stopped, workshops stopped, conference, and so we would try to explain to them. When all that stuff stopped, everybody kind of turned to YouTube, And then you had like Cayman or, you know, whoever doing interviews with all these researchers and, you know, Dr. Peck. That's where I first saw him, is probably an interview with Cayman or, you know, somebody like that. I'm like, they all kind of turned to YouTube and started these channels or doing collaborations with different people with YouTube channels and things like that. So that's where kind of people turned to start getting all their information, you know, and once we kind of explained that and then they saw Dr. Peck and whatnot, they kind of started turning the corner like, okay, maybe it's not all, you know, trash or whatnot. Maybe there is some good information out there and whatnot. So, but yeah, once the ones that went to Nabi with us this year, they were like, we get back and they're like, everybody who didn't go, like, you have to go next year. You have to go next year. Like, so that they all had a great time.
Good. And just, yeah, I feel or get the same input from a lot of other people that you try to tell them about it and they're like, you know, they don't have an idea whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And then one guy that was there, and he was, of course, at his booth all the time. And there were some helpers there for his booth. And I was like, well, I didn't go to any of the talks or this or that. And I'm like, really? I mean, you know, at least one or two. And I don't know. I think he's kind of a guy that gets something stuck in his head, and this is the way I'm going to do it. And it's just, you know, this is just the way I'm going to do it. Not saying that he knows it's right or whether it's wrong, but it's just, I find that kind of mind boggling to me. You know, I'm always looking for the better way and the most production and everything like that. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot and everything. So,
well, you know, Charlie, sometimes you get the two-sided coin. You get people in charge of something that are bookies, as I call them. They're book smart, very educated people, top of their game, and they are very good. But they're not open to simple-minded things.
well, he was actually a retired MD, so maybe that's true.
And that happens. And it's not that I don't like to read books. I read books when I can, especially this whole beekeeping thing 5 years ago. I've read more books than I did the previous 10 years. All right, with beekeeping and that. But I am a hands-on person. I'm a mechanical person. When I do something hands-on and mechanical and that, I pick it up in a second. And the same thing with the bees. When I do something and I see it and I make mistakes, I see it and I learn from it and stuff like that. And sometimes people that are highly educated, they don't want to even think about the other side of that stick. You know, they're good at the one thing, and if it's not in the book, it's not right. And there is more to one side, you know, and I sometimes I think people just don't open their books and say, all right, well, what about this guy? Can he have a better way of doing it than what the book says it's supposed to be done? And
you know, the biggest thing I find with books is that a lot of your beekeeping books, of course, most of them are all about basic beekeeping. And I find it very hard for, you know, some people can write something. You can explain some things in a book in written form. But if I read it, I think it means I got a picture in my head. This is what he's talking about, how he's doing it. And then the next time, and if you get the person who wrote the book, oh, no, that's not what I meant. You can't convey the information as easily as everybody thinks you can.
Yeah.
And it's like with me and my videos, there's one thing that I think I do very well. I explain things very with great detail and trying to make sure that you know every little step and all that. And I've watched 2 videos here in the last week about queen rearing and I'm, you know, definitely looking at the cell builder setup. And I watched the one guy that we were talking about here several months ago. He only had 4 or 5 videos. I forget what his name is in the Carolinas. He's talking about Bob Benny's setup. And then I watched a guy, I'm going to say he said British Columbia. I presume that's in Canada, right? On the other side of the Rockies, Brad.
Mhm.
And it was a club, and the guy was setting up a cell builder and all that. And of course, he never made mention of what, to make sure you did this or that. And he just kind of going through the motions because it's to him, it's just routine. And what he did in his cell builder, the other guy, the new beekeeper from Nobby last year, or Hive Alive, did it in his video, but never mentioned it, is they did the queen right hive. They put the bees down in the bottom box, put a double screen board on, put the queen up top, and reverse the entrance and all that. But what I noticed was I had been putting in cat brood in the bottom box or trying to make a queen-less hive. They only put in 2 frames of food and maybe a feeder frame and the cell graft frame, and that was it. And all those bees had was to go to that grafting bar. Now, the only thing I think I would have done was put in either comb in the rest of that 10 frame box for them to have something to hang on to. So, but they would only go to that cell building bar. And then I could see, compared to the volume of bees in the bottom, after he put the double screen and those bees went around to the front and flew into the original lower box entrance, within 1 day later, there was twice as many bees in the lower box. And there's, right there is a key point that nobody has ever said anything about. And it's like, you don't see it written in any book. You don't see anybody explaining it in any of the videos out there in that detail. I mean, that's a key. Why don't they talk about that? I don't know, but I will, because I'm going to make a video about it when I set this cell builder up. And I'm going to use the double screen board method. I can see where that's to advantage. Now, they used it to where they rotated it back up where the queenless queen went to the bottom again, and they put that box up on top, and they let that cell get capped and go to maturity within a couple of days of being where they would hatch, where I would take that bar out and put it in an incubator after it's capped for safety's sake. And the fact that I found that the bees love to put webbing in between those cells, which are a pain and all that stuff. But, as far as reading the books and stuff like that, I think a lot of it's experience. And I've seen machinery manuals. You're trying to put something together and they leave out 2 or 3 minute steps. Somebody didn't, make sure you do this or that. And it's like, you forgot to say this. Well, I'm trying to get something in there. Well, didn't you do this and this? No, it's not in the book. So none of that stuff is perfect.
Yeah, Tom had a lady, I can't remember if she bought a nuke from him last year or not, or just some equipment. And she was going to be a new beekeeper last year. And he's like, I really recommend you join a club, get some mentoring, take some classes or something. She's like, oh no, I read all these books. We're like, it's not the same thing. Like, you can read all those books and those books are great, but you really need some, like, beekeeping is about hands-on experience. If you ask me, like, you really need to be able to get into a hive, or at least, have, I don't know. It's the more you're in a hive, the more experience you get. I think it's a little bit better than reading a book or whatever.
Yeah, I think Greg Burns is doing a good thing himself out there, not only for what he's doing. He's selling, nukes, and he's selling packages and everything else, but he's doing that learning yard and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's getting a good group of people there that he's actually teaching them in that. But I mean, he also has 17 kids to help him teach in that. So you know, it always helps to have extra people on hand and stuff.
Yeah,
But he's doing a good job with teaching people out there in Ohio and that in his area how to move forward in that. And it's doing some good sales for him. And I mean, it's awesome. I'm sure you guys wish that you could do the same thing, like say, hey, I'll sell you a nuke and I'll come over and I'll show you how to use it and do it and everything else and lay it out and work the bees and that, but you can't go to everybody's house.
So what we actually did last year is everybody who we sold nukes to, we told them like, hey, nuke pickup is on this day, and we did it at our house last year. And we have a handful of hives at our house. So like, we'll do an installation demonstration and show you guys how to handle the frames and all this stuff, because a lot of them were new beekeepers. It was free, you know, if you guys want to show up at this is the time we're doing the demonstration, answer any questions that you guys have and whatnot. And we probably had like, what, 7 or 8 at least.
Yeah, there was probably more than that. It might be closer to 10 or 12.
People like show up early to for the little demonstration. And you know, we're both really good about taking any phone call, you know, because we told them if you guys have any questions or whatnot, just give us a call. We'll try to talk you through anything and whatnot. So but we're not
So
selling.
it sounds like you guys aren't going to be doing the other business for too much longer.
So truth be told, Tom did a lot more beekeeping than he did landscaping last year. Luckily, he has employees that he can like set them up for work in the morning, and then we would just go out and do what needed to be done in the bee yards last year.
Nice.
So
Good for you.
It's a
guys.
good place to be in. Congratulations. Good for you guys. So
It's not easy though. It's tough. You know, the workforce is not the same thing that it was. And this is going to kind of date me a little bit, I think, you know, with my gray hair and all, but the workforce is not what it was 15 or 20 years ago.
the workforce isn't what it was 4 years ago.
Well, that's true, but
wasn't 2 years ago.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. You know, everything has gone up in price, right? But you know, and I'm not going to get on a soapbox or anything, but you know, back before COVID hit, everybody was preaching they wanted the $15 an hour and stuff. And when you really sit down and think about it, and I'm not some scholar here by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, when you're thinking about basic economics, if everybody in the world starts off at the $15 mark, what do you think happens to all those jobs where they're entry level position? You know, what all goes on with that? All those products and everything, they're all going to have these increases, and it's not going to work out the way that they think it's going to, you know? So I don't know. The world's a little bit different place than what it was before. You just kind of have to adapt, but I still really do like landscaping. I like the visual transformation in front of my eyes. I don't think I'll stop doing it, but we really do enjoy beekeeping quite a bit.
No offense, but I think you stay where you're at right now, because I think this year is going to be a scary year being a businessman, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually thought it was
by
going to be
September. It's going to be scary.
You know, Carl, that's funny you mentioned that. I actually thought what you just said, I thought was going to happen last year, and it really kind of didn't. People were still spending money.
Yeah.
I try to keep a pretty good mix of clientele, but I also try to keep a good mix of clientele that has, I don't know what the PR way to say this is, a very good income. You know, that certain things just don't affect some of these people as much as they do the working class, middle class, you know?
Yeah.
And it seemed like they still like to spend money and they do what they want to do, you know, and not a lot affects them as much in certain ways, I guess. So.
Yeah, I'm worried about this year. I'm telling you, by September, if the Fed doesn't do what they're supposed to do, I think that you're going to have a real scary situation come Thanksgiving this year.
Yeah,
I really do, and I'm being very cautious. I mean, and I'm 18 years into my business, and I'm telling you, it's a scary situation.
Yeah,
I think it's scary. Now I could be wrong. It can keep kicking ass and keep going the way it is, and everything else, which I hope it does. But I don't know. It's been stronger than I thought it would be the last year and a half, 2 years, and I'm scared of that downfall. To be honest with you, I'm ready for it, but I don't want to be ready for it.
That's right. Yeah, we're
You
kind
know?
of in uncharted waters, aren't we? There's not
Yeah.
really what's taken place has really happened before. So, I mean,
It's scary. It really
We've got
is.
a garage full of liquid gold, though, so I think we're good.
And it doesn't go bad.
And
it doesn't go bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good for you.
Honey doesn't stop flowing in a recession or depression, does it?
Nope. I mean, the season, you could have a rough season, but you should
True.
still have product.
That's right.
So do your job on that end, you should be okay.
Yeah.
So
We'll keep plugging away.
But it's scary, right? I personally think this next 6 months, I think is going to be a real like iffy, scary time. It could be good or it could be really prosperous. And I'm scared being as good as it's been the last 16 months that I think we're in for a kick in the ass,
It would seem that way.
So
yeah.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and shut the stream down. Y'all can stay. I'm just going to shut the sideboard down. So until next Friday, we'll catch you later.
Right on.